Hey, Croeso, welcome back. And here we are. Britain's Hidden History number 121. And they said it would never last. Take it away, Leon. Right, thank you for all those. I can see some good chat going on. Marshall Abrahams, first off the mark this week. Well done. Hello, evening. Good evening. Gary Taylor, good evening from a caravan in Prestatyn. Wow, there you go. Any update on the publication of your book, Marshall? Yeah, good question. Marshall Abrahams, if you're not aware, used to be on my show quite a lot. Have to get you on again, Marshall's got her own channel as well. I put links up, should be in the description already, and I'll put the other ones up. And Marshall's been doing a huge lot of research into the ancient migrations, and particularly tracing things back to sort of era around about 1100 BC, potentially another Trojan War. It's very well worked out. Lots of amazing research. What's the answer? Thanks for asking. I almost feel embarrassed to say I've found some new information which needs to go in. But I'll go as fast as I can. Thank you very much, Leon. The winning post recedes all the time. Yes, I know that feeling. At some point you have to say, okay, that'll do. Let's run with it. There's always more information. Alan Rees, Mr. Swordmaker, the Swordsmith. Everyone's disappeared. So I'll say, I'm going to show off one of the swords then. If you need to raffle another sword, thank you very much for those, Alan. You're fantastic. Right, everything's been working well. Who else we got? Just giving people chance. Oh, we have loads of people logging in now, so I'll just chat a little bit more before we start. Kenneth Mackay, good evening, sir. Mark Manning, evening all. I'm constantly amazed at the amount of research Wilson and Blackett have done over the years. Yeah, I'm sure I see these far more. I always used to think it was just a bit of hype from Alan, or, he's getting old, he's 90 now, he loses his memory a bit, and sometimes he doesn't remember all the books that we've published. He always remembers the history, mind. If you get him on, it's a bit like tuning a radio. Once you get him onto the right wavelength and he knows the topic, bang, he's off, and it's amazing, okay? But he always says, I've only published half it, It's true. There's tons more coming. I can see Paul Challenger, evening all, 2 of us here, so add 1 to the overall attendance figure. Yes, thanks, Paul. And Paul and his wife Margaret been a wonderful help typing up notes, and he knows because they've been doing a lot of the typing. We've got a whole book to come out on, for example, why the pyramids are built. Why? And by whom and when. Just a little thing that Wilson and Blackett have sorted out, but haven't quite got around to publishing. For most other people in the world, if you found that would be it for your life. You spend your whole life just, talking about that and researching it. But no, it's just another subject, and there's a few other big subjects haven't even been launched yet. But welcome to tonight anyway. I'll say hello to a couple more people. David John Pickford. Good evening, people. Rhyth Mystic. How about I am Je suis Jesus? Well, funny you should mention Jesus, because one of the things on a very exciting week, I've been spending more time with Richard Hall, Rich Planet, and going back to do some extra bits of filming and things like that. And that's hopefully, I'm amazed at the quality, the different level of professionalism to what he produces. As I always say, I'm not a filmmaker. I'm just a bit of a content provider, a reporter, really. And you get it pretty rough. But this is I've learned a lot from working with Richard for a couple of weeks on how you really make a film. So we'll have to step up my standards as well. So that's low sound again. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know. Perhaps check your computer. I think it should be all right. Someone else could put a comment on, please. Hey, Marion Smith, hello from North Carolina. I always want to go there. I don't tell anyone, but someone that's very, bit of a, what would you call it? Crush, I suppose, from North Carolina. Never made the trip. Ships are passed in the night. So hello, Louise, if you're watching. That was a long time ago. Raleigh, I think the place was called. Raleigh. What? Oh, you need a headset. Uh-oh. You might have to use one of the little phone ones. I don't know. It should be around somewhere, Leon. I'm looking for a headset for the producer. Right, completely distracted myself now. David Mosley, Northwith Northwith, good evening all. Troyana Hixos, right, we're doing great. Yes, so there's loads of stuff from that. The exciting week. So that hopefully came up much sooner than I thought. There's going to be loads. It's very quiet. Everyone's saying it's quiet. I don't know what I can do about it. Hang on a second. Angie's come back and says it's quiet. Yeah, well, thanks for telling me, Ange. No, that's right. No, I need to know if it's quiet. I don't know what I can do. What can I do about it? My producer disappeared. I need to try and make it louder. That used to be the old joke, wasn't it? Who won the Formula One championship in 1972? They say Nicky Lauda. They say, who made the championship in 1972? I'll turn this up. That's why I turn my speakers up. Right, maybe that's helped. Sorry, my hair's wet.
You could try.
See if that's louder now. I think that might be louder. I think that might be working. I've got new speakers my end, so if I turn it up, it's like poof, blows me out the water. Yeah, and the other thing is, but Dr. Stephen Pidgeon, who's the main man, the leader with the Kepha, I call it the Kepha Bible. I've got to be careful here because so many terms are very different to the ones I'm used to. And what they've done, I should get my Kepha. Can you see the Kepha Bible there? The big black one with Kepha written on the side. I was looking at it just yesterday. Just a bit further down, I think. It's a huge black thing. No, it's a huge thing. Not my other Bible. No, not the King James Bible. That's another Bible. Hey, I tell you what. Many people say the Holy Word, and it's in the Bible, and you think how many different Bibles there are. I've got a few already, and the Kepha is fantastic. I can't even claim to begin to even know a fraction of it, because it's a huge project. And what they've attempted to do is go all the way back to original sources. So hello, any Dr. Pidgeon fans there? I know it's I was on one of the broadcasts during the week, so and the followers, and the idea is very much to go back to the original translations, the original meanings of the word, and go back and really dig into the fine details, and then try and produce a Bible that predates all the ones that have been changed and adapted through Christian times. So it's a big project. Why can't they all see it? It's huge. Does it sound okay now?
No, still very quiet. But the bing sound, the window sounds louder, but your voice...
It's just me, not very loud. What's happened?
I could try and look.
Sorry about this, folks. We've never had this problem before. Oh, we got the technical wizard.
Settings.
Hang on a sec. Sorry about this. Properties, perhaps? We never had this problem before. What's going on? You're on the wrong microphone? No, it's only one microphone.
Try deactivate it.
Alright, just give me 1 second, then we're just going to my technical wizard. Wow, see, that sounds really loud, so everyone can hear that. They can't hear me. Desktop audio microphone there. Is that the one? This one?
Yes, the one.
So you can disable for a second.
Okay, that should work, hopefully.
That should work, says my...
That was weird though, because it was up there.
Everything's fine. It looks from full volume on the screen. Settings looking good. Alright, people have to turn up their computers if it hasn't worked. And I'll go a little bit nearer to the microphone. Turn on the desktop. Yeah. I'm going to blast people's ears out, that's the problem. Right, I hope that's working okay. I do apologise. God, man, it takes me back to the old days. We used to have technical problems all the time. I thought we'd said goodbye to all that. Right, hang on, let me just rejoin the chat. I can hear you fine. Oh, other people can hear fine. All right, okay, audio good. Try using headphones, that may help. Yeah, especially if it's 5 of you around the same computer. So anyway, the Kepha bite, which you can't see the Kepha thing. It's like this big. I might have had it out. I might be reading it. It might be another room. That might be what it is. I am reading it. Because it's a whole different look at the Bible. And what was curious was some discussions with Dr. Pidgeon. You'll see one this evening, called Joseph of Arimathea, when talked about Strong's Concordance. Is there a mic volume? Oh well, we'll have to go with it as it is, okay? And he's seen mistakes in Strong's Concordance, so I have to have a chat with Luke about that. So we could do a thing with Luke. So tonight, the main theme tonight will be Joseph Arimathea. I was going to do a little bit more about who he was, but what we're going to do more about is the coming to Britain. Now, Wilson and Blackett have written about this before, and everyone will know most of the story. And also going to look at this excellent book which is The Holy Kingdom, Adrian Gilbert, which I don't publish or sell because it's, well, it's not my book. It's Adrian Gilbert's book, and it's another publishing company. But as you can see, my copy is well used, well battered. It's a very well written book, and in many ways, that's the best introduction to the subject. He is a great writer, and I would love to meet him sometime and have a discussion about a lot of these things. He's moved on to other things since, so we'll be using that. There is also this, Maelgwn of Llandaff, which is written in a style suspiciously like that of Wilson and Blackett. But it's, was it Matthew Kelly? Oh, no, that's the one, Michael Clark. Where did I get Matthew Kelly from? That's the guy from the telly, used to be on the telly. And it's a bit of Artorius Rex and all that good stuff there. Pardon? I can't have even more in my mouth.
It's more closer.
It can't be any closer. All right, okay. Yeah, don't feel at all self-conscious of the microphone now, eh? I'm going to have a bit of singing and stuff. And if you are new, you're very welcome. First time with the channel. What Wilson and Blackett really the ones who unveiled all this. And then this idea that the history we're taught and presented with, whether it be in the media or in school or university even, is very much of an invented narrative. And if you look at it, history's always been rewritten. Always. Whichever country in the world you look at. I can hear your breath. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's some people's computers. Thank you, Brad, for letting me know. Hello, Susie. Welcome aboard. Dean Morgan, good. Ron P, a touch lower than normal, but hopefully okay. All right, let's move on from that. So there's lots of rewrites for political reasons, usually. And one of the shows I'm going to do, and I've videoed it at the beginning of, how do I put this politely? The presented as a COVID crisis thing a couple of years ago. We were in Taiwan, because that's where Angie's parents live, and where she's from, and we were over there visiting, because I could see this lockdowns were coming, and that we wouldn't be able to go, and her father wasn't very well, so thank goodness we did, because by the time we came back, everything had kicked off. So while I was over there, one of the things I was filming and looking at, never on holiday, was Taiwan history, because I'll do a special film on that when I get a chance, because there you can really see it, and because it's another country, you can really kind of, it's easier to take on. It's very difficult to think that you might have been lied to, or your history has not worked. If we fall in love with our history, we get to know it through school. From the outside, Taiwan is just so clear, you can see it, because you had different periods. You had the European period, whereas the Formosa with the Dutch. And then you had this Japanese period, which was, and Japan really treated it as a colony, as part of the Japanese Empire. Then you got, it's embarrassing then and awkward for Taiwanese history, because the Japanese built a lot of the roads and the hospitals and the airport and did a lot of the modernization. And you had this sort of history. But then you had the Mao Zedong, well, started Second World War, really. The troubles began, fighting the Japanese, and Chiang Kai-shek's army battered almost to nothing by the Japanese forces, and then they evacuated eventually after the war in the 50s via Vietnam to Taiwan, and they moved the capital with them. So this weird situation where Taiwan claims to still be the capital of all China, and China claims Taiwan. Very strange situation. But the history is really good to look at, really interesting, because you see the Chiang Kai-shek history put on it, with their sort of cult leader status he had and his picture everywhere, and almost a year zero situation. So in China you had year zero with Mao Zedong, where all the imperial stuff had to be pushed out and discarded. Opposite happened in Taiwan, and in recent times they're sort of pushing back the other way. So it's a bit of a roundabout way of introducing things. Anyway, so why was Charlie at Llandaff Cathedral? What is the significance of that, please? I would love to know. But excellent question. A quick word about Llandaff Cathedral. Yeah, my breath is fine, by the way. I think it's just the microphone picking me up, Brad. I feel fine. I'm in top form. I had a great week. So, Llandaff, following the research we do on here, and Wilson and Blackett's research, is the site, at least, of the earliest cathedral, Christian cathedral in the world. It goes back to at least 170, so 2nd century, and even earlier than that. It's an incredibly significant site. And even the name you can look at, because one of the things pointed out is the Taff, the river Taff, and Llandaff could be a mutation of Taff, but anyway, the land Taff. This is like to pull in, or to sort of like fishing souls or fishing people. Goes all the way back to Llandaff, and we've got Llanelid just up the road, and we've got Joseph Arimathea's grave, I don't know, a mile away, maybe a mile and a half, which we'll see in today's show. And I just got the impression he had to go to the four corners, you know, like Scotland, England. Is he going to do a service in Northern Ireland? I haven't really followed it too closely, so I don't know about that one. Yeah, you know, at 150 says Marshall, or Alan Rees 150. Right, okay. M.A. Kelly's bookshop is in Newcastle. Yeah, I am a bit suspicious who wrote that. And M.A. Kelly bookshop. Yes, that's right. Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Right, okay. Without further ado, so we're going to have, if you are new here, first of all, I'm going to do a bit of go through some of the news and updates, because we are getting new people all the time. Some of the things that have happened. PowerPoint's detected your graphics card and may not be configured. Don't do that to me. Ah. So a few news items and a short break. I'm actually going to play some music by request. Now, obviously people haven't heard me play, haven't picked up for months. So you've got new people who need to realise why you don't ask those questions. Okay, so we'll do a bit of news, a few updates, and then we'll go on to Joseph Arimathea. So here we go. There's a picture of myself. Actually, just looking closely, it looks like we're about to have a fight, doesn't it? But no, we're having a really good chat and discussing ideas. Oh yeah, with the Kefir Bible and everything, what I find most fascinating is that how much it ties in about the hidden history and what Wilson and Blackett have done. Dr. Pidgeon's a big fan of Wilson and Blackett and the work we do here. And one of the reasons he's over here is looking at these old sites, and we go to places like Llanelid and Llandaff and Joseph Arimathea's sites. You'll see videos if you type Pidgeon, Pidgeon, you should see a few videos there. We've gone to sites when he came over, 3-4 years ago. Yes, it's all good stuff and very interesting how the two interlocked and hopefully can help the other ones and cover each other. So it was so good to meet everyone as well. Jessica, Paul, make new friends. We had Stuart and Angela and Izzy stay with us. It was all great. So good stuff. Right, hopefully you can see that okay. Can you hear me okay, Leon? Yeah. Yeah, no problem. There we are. Oh, now, first of all, big thank you. Sylvia Croft, Andy Boone, making donations, help keep things going. Don't get any funding. It's just the book sales, and it's not a lot. So if you would consider becoming a member or a Patreon, or you just want to make a donation, that's brilliant. We need something. We're going to run out of steam, and then that would be tragic. Okay, oh yes, another reminder. The Llandaff again, Llandaff Cathedral. Actually, not the cathedral, it's Llandaff North. Don't go to the cathedral. The pub called The Railway, which is next to Llandaff North train station. Slightly different, okay? It's a bit like in London where you got Clapham and Clapham North. It's not the same place. It's near, but still. And that's October the 10th, the full moon at 7 p.m. You can see myself and Lawrence the Druid. Well, I'm just introducing him. Lawrence is the main man for that one. And I've been chatting with him again. He's on great form. And because this glorious warm summer has now come to an end, it's starting to get chillier, especially at night. He's invited me to go and sleep on a mountain again. Now that really annoying warm weather is out of the way, we can do it in the freezing cold. There we are. Right, this is a little... there's a few stories. Oh no, I haven't written down who sent me this one. I do apologise. I like to try and give credit to everyone who sends the articles. So I'm going... Pardon?
One about the ears.
The ears?
Yeah.
Eh?
The microphone's still quite loud.
Microphone's still loud?
No, the audio, computer audio.
Oh, computer audio. So how do I change that? Oh, hang on a second. I'm going to deafen
Just
people.
tell them.
No, because they can't go up and down quick enough, can they? Right. So I'm just going to...
I can do it on... Should I do it? Yes, go to...
No, this will do.
No, it's just for you.
Yeah, but it's the desktop, isn't it? Ah, there we
That's
are.
not
Alright, I'm sorry if that happens. Hopefully there's no desktop sounds. Now, this is their little story. I do a few news stories. Thank you for this one. I do apologise not putting your name up. It might be Dean, actually. Dean Morgan, I think. He's a regular contributor. You can watch all this stuff about crystals and all that. It's a little bit new agey for my liking, but it is interesting. But more importantly for us as historians, is the archaeologist discovered hundreds of rare rock crystal quartz fragments in a ceremonial site in Western England. And what's fascinating about it is near the Arthur Stone, which is interesting as well. Go away. And it's the largest assemblage of worked rock crystal within Britain and Ireland. And what is very interesting article about this is where they came from. Because some of them have come from a cave in the mountains of Snowdonia in North Wales, 80 miles away. And also a cave at St David's Head. So that's right out in West Wales. It's more than 100 miles away. So how did they get there? This is all guessing then. You don't know how they were transported. That's just them guessing. Yeah, it'd be fascinating to know. Now, it caught my eye as well because just a couple of days ago, I took Dr. Pidgeon and friends up to see the... I'm not showing the pictures now. Two in a Glow, which, if you're not aware of it, is the place where the Ark of the Covenant is said to have ended up. It's in South Wales. Sounds a bit weird at first, I know, give it a chance. So you got Ynys Glow, so you got this sort of island of the Shining, which is a reference to the Ark. Sorry, start again. Ynys Bull. Bull is spelt wrongly, B-W-L. Ynys Bull with a Y is the place of the Ark. And you've got the sacred place at the top of this mound, very stunning. And one of the things I was showing is that you have these drainage sumps. Because when you have ancient things in Wales and you store them, the reason you don't put them underground in a pit is it does rain now and again. I mean, hardly ever, but Wales is a little bit damp, okay? Yeah, most days. So whatever you store in there is going to become waterlogged or soggy or ruined or degraded. So you have to try and keep it dry. So the way to do that is to build a mound, put your burial chamber at the top of the mound, rather than underground as a dry country like Egypt or something. You then curve the bottom of the treasure chamber, and you put a plug in the middle of it, a plug hole, a sink, just like you do in the bath, all right? So the water will all come to the sink, then the water will drain off through the side of the hill. And this, if you're looking for mounds and you're trying to work out if they're man-made, and it might be a sort of a chamber or something in them, that's the first clue. That's the easiest way to do it. And it reminded me, because I used to do this all the time, and I'd sort of got out of the habit a bit and forgotten a bit. So what you do, you've got a mound there. Let's get myself on screen. Then, about 2/3 of the way down, you'll find a hole where this drainage comes out. Now the key is, it has to be very shallow. If it comes down too fast, it'll flow, and where it comes out, it'll damage the mound and create a groove. And over hundreds of years or thousands of years, the mound will get worn away. So the way they get round this is very, very clever. They create a sort of sump, which is like a bowl, an upturned bowl, and you fill that with stones. So the water trickles into the stones, and it'll trickle over the side over a wide area. So what you're looking for inside the mound's a hole, and the whole thing is jammed with stones. And the reason, because otherwise it's going to fill up with moss and all sorts of things. The curious thing about Two in a Glow is there's no moss or green stuff ever grows. These stones, you see them, and I've seen other sumps where they must use the same technology, although the stones haven't been tested, so I can't tell for certain. You look at it, and so what they do, the water has to trickle through the stones very slowly, come out and trickle over the sides, and you can find the drainage sumps. The curious thing is, what they've used in Two in a Glow is claimed there's 3 different stones there, and the combination seems to stop anything growing. So there's no greening over, no moss, nothing like that. They stay immaculate. And some of those stones come as far as Cornwall. So there's a far more sophisticated ancient setup going on in Britain than is generally presented. You know, they weren't just running around bashing each other on the head and trying to kill mammoths. They were very intelligent, doing great stuff. So I'll put all these links up. I haven't had time yet. They'll go up after the show and you'll find the link. But I'm sure if you search that headline, Rare Crystals Discovered in English Stone Age Ceremonial Site, you'll come across them. When it's Stone Age, as again, is conjecture. Could be older, could be younger. Okay, here's a chat. The link's down the bottom again. You can copy that. I was very pleased. Thank you very much to Jessica.
You're not screen sharing.
Oh, thank you, Leon. Sorry, so there's there at the bottom. If you copy that headline, thank you, Leon. Rare Crystals Discovered English Stone Age Ceremonial Site. Search that. It's only a few days ago. Well, it wasn't. It was sent to me. So here's... I could have paused on a happier moment. Everyone looks really sad there. It was a very happy occasion, okay? And I was invited onto the show where we did a chat about various things. I could talk for 100 hours. It's only 1 hour, 1.5 hours. And we already covered quite a lot. So if you want a chance to watch that, it's quite relaxing to watch. And you can hear Dr. I always say it wrong. I always just say Sifa. I'm told it's Kefa, I think. Kefa Publishing Group. And which is interesting. She's got the hard C. Because a lot of people say Celtic, like Glasgow Celtic, the football team, or the Celtics. Glasgow Celtic, that's right, yeah. I think, oh, hang on a second, the Boston Celtics. Yeah, there's Celtics as well, the basketball. Sorry, Glasgow Celtic, the soccer team. Yeah, I'm just making sure I get them in my mind. Whereas Cymro or Cymru is a hard C. So, you know, is it Celtic or Celtic, that kind of thing. Anyway, so it's Kefa. And a great chat there. It was really good fun. I was going to show a little clip of this. Just bear with me one moment. Just to give you a flavour. I've queued it up because it is relevant to what we're talking about tonight. Oh, yes. I love it when things actually look like a professional show. Right. I'm very worried it's going to blast your eardrums out. So I'm going to put this on a very low setting, okay? I really need... Leon's disappeared again. So, hope this isn't too loud. Partly remembered legend. There's always some truth in this, because the Cornwall of the Southwest was the main source of tin for the Bronze Age. Now, it depends how much you want to go into this. If you look at writers like Comyns Beaumont, they claim that Edinburgh was Jerusalem, and the whole story got moved from Britain to the Middle East under the rule of Constantine to bring it nearer to his capital. But that's a big thing to take in, you know. Pardon?
Ross, let's stop there for a second, because water is not this reed sea that they talk about down here in Israel, but rather this body of water they call the Straits of Messina between Sicily and Italy that allowed Moshe to cross and to move north. We don't know, right? But what we see is this: if Edinburgh was accepted as Jerusalem, and the throne of David is removed from Jerusalem with Jeconiah. So what takes place is, when you see what happens with the kings coming out of Wales, you see the kings move out of Wales, then there is some tenure in northern Wales where they're trying to claim that these kings are the true kings. But there is other evidence that indicates the Welsh kings did a migration completely into Scotland with the intent of resecuring the throne of Jerusalem in between those walls. And this is where we get, you know, from the McAfees on up to the MacDonalds, on up to Robert the Bruce even, and finally culminating in Yames, right, King James, who would ultimately become the king of the United Kingdom, the first king from Scotland.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of things. I'm going to pick on a couple of things on there which really leap out at me. First of all, is this mention of Anna. I mean, that really solves a problem there, a missing hole, if you like, because when you go through the British records, I was trying to find a family tree to put in front of the screen. I don't think that'll work very well. I could put the graphics up if we can share somehow. But in one of the crucial things is that in this biblical era, the British king is said to have married Anna. And the mystery is, who is Anna? Wilson Blackett conjecture it might be the sister of Jesus or the auntie of Jesus, or it's not clear who the link is, but the link is clearly very important because this Anna, who's come from somewhere, is clearly identified as part of this holy family. So
Interesting. That would be Anna. Yeah, it's
first time I've seen Anna mentioned, because I'm not aware of any Anna in the Bible who it could be. We've been trying to work out who that is.
Well, again, it's not. Now, here's one of the problems we run into in Scripture. The New Testament has had the names deleted to protect the innocent. Like, let me give you an example. When you look at the marriage where the water is turned to wine.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Very familiar story. Everybody knows this. Whose marriage was it? Who was it that was getting married? Right? Are we told? No one's told. Right? When the Mashiach heals the mother-in-law of Simon Kepha, Peter.
I'm just going to interrupt a second because let's jump forward to the bit I actually wanted to show tonight, which was about here, I think, after 21 minutes.
Where Carthage had already burned the place once, and it was not a very well defendable site, and he could move over here to the city named after his own name.
Yeah, so what we're talking about there is the idea that the Bible stories were moved from Britain to Constantinople, Constantine's new
very
city.
Defendable site, and it proved to be the case. That side of the empire lasted 1,000 years longer than the western side. But it was in Greek orientation. So you see a number of things happening. One, he insists on having the New Testament crafted in Greek. This was a big project. He wanted 50 copies, handwritten copies from Eusebius in the 4th century, delivered to Constantinople. And they were. And from there, thousands of copies were made and registered in the basement of the Hagia Sophia Church, there, which was the most important church in all Christendom. It preceded the Vatican by many years. So we see that Constantine has this interest in, let's recite all of this information here under the Greek control of Constantinople to the north from this Palestinian area. And we'll call these areas Jerusalem. We'll call these areas, all of the sites that are taking place in the Gospels. And there's some evidence to the fact that this is abnormal. For instance, the evidence of walking on the water. Now, this description of this kind of, the problems that were happening with boats and in the sea and so on and so forth, inconsistent with this lake that they call the Sea of Galilee, which they don't call it, it's not called the Sea of Galilee, and even in Israel today, they call it the Harp, it's the Lake of the Harp. But it is consistent with the waterways off Cornwall, very consistent with what you would see there, right? And so we see some things here that are kind of very interesting. Now, also, when we talk about, for instance, Galatia, when Paul says, I'm going to go preach to the Galatians. Well, did he go into Turkey at some area that they try to call in the middle of the country Galatia? Or was he in that area where also known as Galatia, of the area of Gaul, which would be northern Spain, western France, and which would later become Brittany, right? And was this the place where he preached? So all of these things have some serious questions. When you get to the book of Revelation, they don't talk about the situs of the crucifixion being Jerusalem.
Now this is important.
They instead say Egypt and Sodom and the place where Mashiach was crucified. They don't use the name Yerushalayim.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't know that. Right, okay.
So anyway, I didn't want to interrupt you, but that is very interesting. Now, you say there's a great deal of history associated with this idea that Edinburgh was the original Jerusalem.
Yeah, it was a big thing. Right, okay, so as you can see there, so it's obviously it's a good hook. I'm sure people want to watch that. So as you can see, I know it from the outside it might seem like, it's it is a religious group at the end of the day, but this is historical research, and it goes right to the core of what we're doing in this group. All right, so it's amazing amount of crossovers and everything. I haven't really looked into the doctrinal stuff so much. I'm interested in the history, but it's a very friendly bunch, and I do appreciate Jessica. Great fun getting to know Jessica and being invited on the show. So there we are. So have a look at that when you get a chance, and I think you'll enjoy it. I will see a little bit more of Dr. Pidgeon later in the show. Okay, so there's that. You can see the address down there. And I'm going to be putting more videos up during the week. Okay, let's talk different places. I've just dropped this in just as a little aside. A couple of people asked me, when you have a nice Steddfod, it's completely different this is now, just jump around. You have the chair, the Bard of the Gadair, so the bard of the chair. And the chair is presented to the winning poet, or it's, I don't think you actually put it on your back and carry it home. But he's kind of chair. It's a bit like throning someone, I suppose. And a nice surprise. I took this picture not long ago because I popped into the school, probably dropping off something the boys have forgotten. Rugby kit, pair of socks, trainers, the usual shopping list you have as parents. And right by reception, there's the old chair that they used to have when I was there, which is not in 1950, as it says on the chair. The school must have been given it because the school wasn't built till the 70s. And it's got a special spot in my heart because I'm just showing off a bit. Back in school, I was the Bard of the Gadair. I wrote the winning poetry. So there you go. It's very exciting. I do the whole. It just struck me because I say Heddwch all the time. You know what? It's there when it's brilliant because I'll just tell you a little bit about the ceremony. In those days, I don't think they do any of this now. Unfortunately, it's tragic. But the whole school will be sitting out. There's about 2,000 of us in the sports hall, all sitting on the floor, divided into our 4 houses, which were Llantristans just down the road. So you got Gwynedd, Illtyd and Tafodwg. And then the patrons say Dewi. They were the 4 houses. All that's gone now, all right? Talk about hidden history happening in front of your eyes. I'm writing letters to the head. I want to get this changed. Because now, what are your 4 houses now, Leon? What are they called?
Don't even know.
Don't even know. But there's like red, blue, yellow and green. And one's like a griffin and one's... It's random. Just random mythological beasts. And I don't know why. My guess is because they're all 4 were males and white, perhaps. I don't know. But for me, it was great because to this day, I know the 3 saints of Llantrisant, Church of the 3 Saints, Llan Tri Sant, and Dewi, of course. So what they would do then, they do this great thing, you got to go this palaver because you enter the names under pseudo pen names. And then when it comes to the great ceremony, then they shout out the name of the winning poet after a bit of a ceremony. And you have to pretend you don't, you have to hide sort of thing. Just sit there. Come on. Everyone starts getting nervous. Is the person not here? Then you stand up, and the teachers, all in their gowns and druidic stuff, and their graduation gowns, drag you down to the front, so reluctantly, under a guard of honour. Then you sit on the chair, and they get the great big sword out, a bit like my ceremonial sword, and over your head, they open it, and they go, Avois Heddwch! Which is, do we have peace in this land? So Avois Heddwch! And the whole, all the children, all the orders will go, Heddwch, and they slam it shut with a crash. You do that 3 times. Avois Heddwch, Heddwch, Avois Heddwch. And then they play the music, and then you read the poem to everybody. It's absolutely fantastic. And that seems to have gone. And there's interesting to see the chair sitting in the reception area, because I don't think they use it anymore. Absolute tragedy to see these traditions going. So I just thought I'd drop it in there so people don't even know these things happen. And it's not that long ago. It's when I was a child. So we need to start campaigning in a local school, get those proper names put back on the houses, because they're important. Tafodwg, Illtyd and Gwynedd are really important. And obviously Dewi might even be Jesus as we've gone through. All right, okay, so here's a close-up. Beautiful, these chairs. So there's a lot of beautiful carving and everything there. Sastiau Steddfod, my Welsh isn't great, is it? Llan Ddyfri. I'm not sure where that is. Normally it's a place, I thought. Llan Ddyfri, where's that? Llan Ddyfri. Oh, there we go. There's me and Richard Hall. My boys laugh at this picture. It says, look, makes me look like a hobbit because he's so much taller than I am. He's not that tall. I'm not that much shorter. I think we're standing on a slope. And there we are, up on the Garth, exploring the mounds of Orion, which Richard's always been a little bit sceptical about, and I had lots of discussions with Alan and Barham about. Discussions is polite way of putting it. Beautiful weather. A couple of weeks ago, you see the beautiful views in the background, all the way up to the Brecon Beacons. So look out for that. I'm very excited. Yeah, I'm super excited. I've always been a big fan of his channel for years and years and years. And I know that's how I discovered Wilson and Blackett. And I think most of the people in this audience, that's how they discovered it as well. So it's cracking to have Richard back involved, and he's a lovely bloke, absolutely great. I've had such a laugh. You can see our happy faces there. It's a lovely picture. And we've got some good yomping around. Okay, what else we got here? Thank you, M. Bennett. Yeah, this is a little weird one. This is, can you see on this picture, can you make out, this is the top of the pyramid supposed to be. I mean, it's some sort of fisheye lens. All the perspectives are all over the place. But you can just about see them. I wish I could. Why is there... I'll just do a little clip just to show you. This comes in one of those shorts. It's only a few seconds. Got to find it now. Is this it? Yeah. I'm going to watch the volume. It's going to be awkward now because I don't want to blast people. Let's turn that.
Let's go into OBS.
Let's turn that down, yeah? Here, let's turn that down.
Actually,
Might work. All right.
Of a paraglider paragliding over the pyramids of Egypt. As he reaches the top of the pyramids, I see something very interesting. Hieroglyphs on top of the pyramids. Mysterious, isn't it? Take a look at this video of a paraglider paragliding over the pyramids of Egypt. As he reaches the top of the pyramids, I see something very interesting.
So that's the shot that M. Bennett has managed to find. Oh, it's tantalising, isn't it? It's just like, you get a feeling for them. You can't, as you know, with hieroglyphics, like the shirt I'm wearing, you can read hieroglyphs quite easily once you know the Welsh language is the key. Keffa published it in America, published it here. It is very interesting, I agree. Thank you very much for that one, M. Bennett. You have to send me your first name. I can't keep calling you M. Bennett. Mr. Bennett or Mrs. Bennett. I don't even know that. I don't even know that. But thank you. If you want to send me information through, if you think it's relevant, please, one thing I ask, if you're sending a video or something, I get sent loads and loads and loads. I would not physically have enough hours in a day to watch them all. If there's a particular bit, put a little mention on there saying about 16 minutes in, you'll see something about this, or this video is about the following. Don't just send a link, all right? Because it's just impossible. And it's not just me. I think everyone gets this, don't they? Your friends send you something. You're like, what is it? So, but that's brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Right, okay. Now, Arnie. Quick, go get Arnie. We have a little break now for getting to the main presentation. How much time I got on for? 10 to 9. Okay. A little bit slow, but there's some interesting stuff there. A little bit of chat. So a little catch up on the comments we've had so far. And the best way I can do this is if I just jump on here. And what we do, we're going to have a little bit of music as well, all right? Just to break it up a bit. Sunday evening. Right, I'm going to look back. Hey, Jessica's online watching us. Hello, Jessica. Thank you for your program. It's great to see other professionals do it. I'm sorry, this is like such a shambles. But there you go. Right, what else we got here? Ron P. Marchell. It looks like Amazon is trying to get rid of his books as soon as possible. Very few left. Is this... I think they're talking about Waddell. No, we're talking about... Oh, everything all right on sound? Yeah, those... It's, I can't help. I don't know why it's quiet. Nothing's changed from every other day. It's really weird. Right, very interesting name. Land of mean fishing of men. Do you think royal family know true history of the Christian migration to UK in the very early days? I'm sure they do. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Peter Harknett. I'm going to tell you a little story now. They do seem to know. They definitely know. They know. And one of the things, if you look for like newspaper, I've got another article running next month. I'd get myself in trouble. Explaining a bit about how the current, why we don't have a British royal family anymore, how we have effectively a German royal family. And there was a coup in about 1688 when the old Stuarts were thrown out. They might have some tenuous links with the old British royalty, but they're not British, okay? And they consistently marry non-Britons right up to the point where we get to Diana, where things might change. And you notice that Charles has got Arthur as a middle name, which he might have used to be king. It doesn't have to be called Charles. It's his choice what he wants to be known as. And neither his father or grandfather used, when I say father, I don't mean Philip, sorry, the last two kings before him, George VI and George V, neither were christened George. One was Albert, and the other one was Bertie, wasn't it? Yeah, both Albert, actually. They do seem to know more. I want to mention here, I think that Lawrence might talk about this in his presentation on October the 10th, and I think I put up a little video, was that on the anniversary of the Battle of Camlan, in the church next to Dinas Mawddwy, where Lawrence lives. The nearest church to what's considered to be the battle site is called Camlan, so I don't see why it isn't. Fits all the descriptions. Where Arthur's body was laid out. And now on the God, how many? What would it be? 700th anniversary or something like that. Gosh, that's not right. 1,500th anniversary. I can't remember the exact dates. And Prince Charles went to this little church in the middle of nowhere. He turned up and spent a day, well, a good few hours there, sitting in the very spot right next to where the body would have been. So why? He seems to know something, doesn't he? And the other thing is, you look at loads of the places that we visit as being of extreme historic interest, like Dunraven and places like that on the south coast of Wales, are owned by King Charles, not Prince Charles anymore, King Charles III. And yeah, so fascinating. So I mean, I'm pretty certain they would know far more than we do. And one of the frustrating things I often say when we're exploring all this is the frustrating thing is,
No sound. Who? I don't know. It's just your sound's done.
I've sent.
I don't have.
well, maybe it's your computer, Ange. Everyone else is hearing it fine, I think. So is that we're doing all this research and digging and looking for clues, and yet the whole time there's undoubtedly people who do know all this. They just don't tell us. People on there. Oh, March of Abrahams. If they don't know yet, they soon will. Because I plan to send a copy of my book, The Great Migrations, to Britain, of 1567 and 508 BC, to the new head of the firm, KC3. Well, you good. When is your book out? Yeah, when is your book out? Yeah, one includes some of Waddle's information. Yeah, it was Waddle we were talking about. Yeah, he's definitely persona non grata. I need to clear my throat, John. I feel a bit... I'll let you into secret. I did eat a little bit of chocolate. I'm not very good with dairy. That's all it is, okay? I know people worry. I get lots of people worrying about me. It's okay, as long as they avoid the dairy. I was a bit low on energy. I had some Maltesers, which I absolutely love. It's my favourite thing. And now I'm paying with a bit of good at congestion. I hope I can still sing. It's bad enough already. Right. Mark, actually, Arnie, yes. Nikki Griffiths, good to see you, Nikki. Grandmother Jesus writes, Marshall Abrams, most translators regard the Edda's myth. Waddle actually sticks it to British history. I haven't read much of Waddle, I have to say. I was thinking of Collins Beaumont, who came after him. Right, lots of good chat there about the translation of the Bible. It was brilliant chat tonight. I could just even have my Turkish mate saying Hedluk now, Ross. Well done, Andrew Whelan. From the Tropic of Merthyr. Or Mercha, we're going to say now. Don't like this idea of the Holy Land in the UK? Well, you can explore where the evidence takes you, Nigel, isn't it? If that's the evidence says, if you don't agree with it, don't worry about it. You can follow the other bits. We don't have to all agree with each other on everything, all right? It's okay to disagree. It sounds like Sefer, not Kefa. All right, Sefer, thank you very much. Are those estates owned by the King or the Prince of Wales? I don't know the technical difference anymore. Charles the Impaler. Right, okay, we're going to have a little song now. Yay, Arnie's in here. He's the pro. He can play properly. And he has to try somehow and keep the timing with me. Where is it? Right, how do I set this running? You know, a little bit of... it's a bit Welsh, this one. So if you speak... A classic for all the regulars, yeah. I haven't sung for ages, so we're just going to give it a go. I sang the other night for some of the Sefer friends, and they seem to like it, so... Right, you ready on? I'll go straight in, alright? Go on, straight in. Doi ti'n cofio Maxim, does neb yn ei nabod o. Mae 1600 o flynyddoedd yn amser i'r hir co. Magnus Maximus o Gymru yn y flwyddyn 303 yn gadael ein gen y gyfan a heddw fel I ni. All together now. Rini amer o hyn, Rini amer o hyn, gwaith a'i par fodd arwain. Rwywydd yn storm o'r môr. Paul Devereux yn mellt yr webryn. Gwaith yr dalen o'n côr. Fel y ddiwedd dagrau gwen galon. Llafyd y dau y llawn. Diwedd o'i ffagir yn gwmpas. Barod am doriad yr war. Rili amar o'r hyd. Rili amar o'r hyd. Gwaith a'i par ffobeth. Gwaith a'i par ffobeth. Gwaith a'i par ffobeth. Rili amar o'r hyd. Ym y bags yn ledig, a dail yn glad yn y dan. Blanfydd gelben yn blwyddyn, miloedd yn dan yn yr fan. Gwaith a'i pob Dick John Dawddyn, gwaith a'i ren ffagir i'r clw. Windfarm hyd dewyr amser, baddir iaith Gymraeg fyw. Rili amar o hyd. Rili amar o hyd. Gwaith a'i pawb ffobeth. Gwaith a'i pawb ffobeth. Gwaith a'i pawb ffobeth. Rili amar o hyd. Well done, Arnie B. Well done. Hope I've got you the riding right. Go on, dear.
Well done.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Well done from Arnie. That never happens, man. There we are, on form tonight. Woof. That hasn't cleared the room. We've still got some people listening. Right. What happened? What are you trying to do? You trying to give me a whack with your bow or something? No, he says. All innocent, isn't he? Right. Huh? Right, okay. So that jar. Right, so thank you very much as well to Dr. Pidgeon for putting new strings on my guitar. Apparently that makes a big difference, so thank you. I like the old strings. I'd use them for years, but there you go. It's not how it works, apparently. Right, we're finally getting on to the bit you've probably tuned in for. So here's a little picture of Joseph of Arimathea. I think everyone should be familiar with the story, the main bits of it. He is the one who seems to be some sort of close relative of Jesus. I think they call him Yeshua on the Sefer. But we all know who you're talking about. He's the one who asked for the body after the crucifixion. It was supposed to be his grave where the body was taken. And, you know, he's the one who was obviously some sort of patriarch of the family to have the position to do all these things. Also, in British legend, there's the old saying that Joseph was a tin miner, or even Jesus was a tin miner, because there are records of him coming to Britain. A lot of records, especially around the Cornwall area, where he's supposed to, and they get the song, and did those feet in ancient times, walk upon England's green and pleasant land. The song, all these ideas, they all strike back, but it's always presented, as Wilson and Blackett say, the story's been twisted. It's always been presented as the young Jesus, teenager or child, coming with his uncle, and his uncle was some sort of tin trader inspecting the mines. Wilson and Blackett having none of that. They say there's no way to own the mines or anything because the British wouldn't allow it. You know, you might have to buy some, we might have visited. And what the proposition here is far more likely that after the crucifixion, whether or not Jesus himself was alive is another controversial area. Wilson and Blackett would say yes, he was alive. Yes, he came back, probably via the West Country to Wales, where he was buried eventually. And hopefully, for Christians, I would think this is a good thing. I was a Christian many years, still am really, and you get racked with guilt every Sunday about the awful suffering on the cross and the death, and he paid for our sins. And it's a kind of a guilt trip. I'm much happier with the idea that, no, he got off the cross and he lived to a nice, ripe old age and a very pleasant life. Obviously, a few hours of misery on the cross would have been horrendous, but he did recover and lived out his life, and he was married, and he had a family and his children, and they married into the British Holy Family, where they had people from the 500 BC migration from the Middle East to Wales, which is the Cymru and the story of the Brutus migrations. So going with that. The whole thing with Comins Beaumont, not the whole thing took place in Britain. We'll leave out of the way for now, okay? It's not important to the story. So it works either way, if you like. Oops, that's what we're talking about, this Joseph of Arimathea and his connections with Britain. And you'll find that the other thing is Glastonbury, beautifully presented Glastonbury, has, well, it must be the best fraud, if you like, that's run ever. Because it's almost 1,000 years old now, where they've been running this yarn that Joseph came to, this is where he came. Glastonbury is where he went. Avalac refers to the apple growing. Aval is Welsh for apple, Old British. And this is sort of story. Now what's curious about this is the church itself wasn't founded to the 950s. I have noticed on the more recent records, I was reading some earlier today, that they're trying to show some sort of charter. It's very fragmented, but that's in the 6th century, because they're trying to get Arthur there as well, you see. So King Arthur's there, Joseph is there. If you go through the history of what they were doing, almost everybody was in Glastonbury. It's amazing. And this was shown, demonstrated to be a complete fake and a forgery at least 800 years ago. And yet it's still being run, and still tourists are going there. People like Dr. Pidgeon went there and he asked questions. He was surprised by some of the answers. Like the holy thorn was supposed to have lived forever. That's all a sham. Most of it, the bodies were moved in and then found. There's all kinds of things have been going there, but the story keeps running. Can't seem to stop it. And they charge entry fee, and they're doing very nicely out of it. What happened, I think, it was back in the time of Henry II. The roof fell in, and they were very poor. They had to buy a new roof. How could they do it? Now, what we've also got now tonight is some unpublished research in Wilson and Blackett. It's stuff they've touched on where Glastonbury actually was. Still is. It hasn't moved. The current tree, by the way, was removed in 1992. They replace the trees every 30, 40 years. They don't last forever. The hawthorn doesn't grow in this country and has to be grafted onto a British one. So there's something seriously wrong with the story. Now what we're proposing here, if you go to Butte Park in Cardiff, right next to the castle, as you can see, it's a beautiful park, very accessible, very easy to get to. And what they've done, they've marked out this area, they bricked it out to create the outline of the ancient Blackfriars Friary. And this was there until Henry VIII came along and said, thank you very much, I'm having that. And it got dissolved and I think burnt down for good measure. I'm not sure. There's a little plaque there. But it stopped being active anyway. But it's got some very strange things about it. One of which you can see in the foreground here, this gravestone, which is actually, you can see the Latin on it. And what was quite disturbing, I hadn't been to the site for a couple of years. In fact, the last time I have been there since, I went to Martin Leaker, hello, all his friends, and Martin, is how much it's degraded. Because when Dr. Pidgeon was here 3 or 4 years ago, he was able to just look at it and translate most of the Latin. You know, it was very visible. Bits were difficult, but most of it was very visible. Now nearly all of it is disappearing. It's an absolute disgrace. Because the plaque there says in Latin how this was the grave site of the Bishop of Bethlehem. So why is the Bishop of Bethlehem buried in Cardiff? It doesn't make any sense. Especially when you go to the back of the story, and you see a lot more of this in this book, which you can pick up. I think it's on Amazon and stuff. And the background of the story there, we'll go into a little bit more of it. Why was Ioannis, because there's no J in the Welsh language, so is Ioannis there? Oh no. Phew. Thought I had no spectacles, that would be a disaster. So what we have then, right, I'm just going to read this now. So it's the second important grave. So just why in 1318, so we're going back 800 years, was the body of Ioannis, or Ioannis, Ioannes, the Bishop of Bethlehem, brought here and buried near the altar. I'll go on to the position, showing the position how that works. Bethlehem had been captured in 1099 at the time of the First Crusade, but was reconquered by the Muslims in 1244. In 1168, the Crusader William IV, Count of Nevers, had promised the bishopric of Bethlehem that if the city ever fell into Muslim hands, he or his successors would welcome him back to clemency in Burgundy. So you go over there, you sit in the Middle East, you defend Jerusalem. If it falls, if you lose, the Muslims take it over, you have got land, and you come back here, okay? And of course, it fell. Now, obviously, by the time this happened, William IV had died, but this was in perpetuity. It's forever. So when the Bishop of Bethlehem moved, so the bishop moved back. Jerusalem fell, the bishop moved back to Burgundy. So the town is called Pantenor, which is near Clemency. And the hospital at Clemency was founded by his father, William III, in 1147. So this remained the bishop's seat in partibus infidelium. So until the French Revolution in 1789, so for 600 years, 700 years, this was the seat of the bishopric. In 1318, the bishop, why wasn't he just buried at Clemency? I mean, that's the church is there, it's his bishopric. Why did he want to move? But it seems he wanted to be brought to the burial place of Joseph of Arimathea. And the implication, this is conjecture now, this is not historical fact as such, but the conjecture is that this is the birthplace of Christianity, and that's why this bishop wanted to be moved back there to be buried in this place. Now we also look at the position where he was buried. So if we look here, this is, I always get this word wrong, bifurcated. So you look at, these are the holy lines, right? There's the altar. Now there's one burial site quite often here, which is the right hand of God. And you'll find this on a lot of the early British churches. The founder of the church will be buried here. And then you have these important lines, the bifurcated lines, all right? Now, this is the main one for our discussion. This is Joseph Arimathea in the corner. And we've got the Bishop of Bethlehem here by the altar, all right? So the altar would have been up this end. You can see this raised section. Here's the altar, right in front of the altar. You draw your line to the corner, and where those people are sitting there, see that? That's where the grave is. This is what the site looks like, okay? There we are. Marcel saying, the miners used to have songs about Joseph and Jesus. That's right. Yeah, this doesn't survive all this time unless there's a good foundation. Yes. So maybe he came here many times throughout his life, and then after his... I would think both. I don't see why it can't be both. I really don't. Okay, so here is... Now, what is myself, Dr. Pidgeon? So I was going to run a bit of video now, okay, which Stuart Birch has very kindly filmed and, sent to me for use. Thank you very much, Stuart. So I need some feedback on the sound levels when I do this. I had it all queued up. Where are you? Where are you, Mr. Video? When the boys are a bit older, they can do proper production on this. I hope it's not too loud. Get ready. Come on.
It wipes out England, and it also affected the tenure of King Arthur. It affected... Yes.
All right, good stuff.
And
this happened in rehearsal as well, and I've forgotten what I had to do. Rehearsal. Think anyone's going to believe this is rehearsed, really? Let's try again. Come on. You can do it, computer.
So it wipes out England, and it also affected the tenure of King Arthur. It affected, it affected the church, and so the next thing you know, here the church is functioning on this side of the Isles, and the Britons were predominantly on this side of the Isles, not on the East Coast, right?
Possibly protected by the valleys and the hills, this kind of thing, rather than the flat east of England. We'd have no cover or protection at all. I'll just explain, that's protected from the comet. What we just talked about was the fact that the comet had smashed through Britain, destroying vast amounts of it, and they'd be protected from there as well. Different version. There's another video I want to show you as well, so just bear with me on this one.
You just get fried as this thing came over.
Yeah, and so, but after this, Gregory tells Augustine, you're going there. And he comes initially, he says, well, yeah, I don't like it here, I'm coming back. And he came back, and then the Pope said, no, that's what your mission is.
Yes, he had to reinforce it, didn't he?
Yeah, so he comes back to Canterbury, and he comes back to Canterbury with the dogma. The Pope is the vicar, right? Vicarius Filio Dei, in place of the Son of God on earth.
And the keys to
the kingdom and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so with all that argument, he comes in, and so he wrestles for theological control. And as soon as he gets it, he excommunicates all the bishops out here in Wales. And then a few years later, executes them all.
Right.
Excommunicates and then executes. And then once that happens, Rome begins to claw its way into the Isles under the doctrine of Roman Catholicism, right? And the war has always been, from 36 AD on, it has been the true faith born here at war with the Roman extrapolation, the melting pot, right?
Yes.
Fascinating stuff, man. Just fascinating.
It's one of the things Alan Wilson says of all the places the Holy Family could have come. The fact they came to Wales has meant 2,000 years of persecution and nightmare. You know, it's one of the most disastrous things to happen to Wales was the Holy Family coming here. It's made it the focus of
persecution.
Yeah,
and denial.
Ever since, yes.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's very. I mean, I just love the works of Wilson and Blackett. I mean, you know, it's the best history that's ever been crafted on the British Isles.
Wow, great. Yes.
The best history.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
But let's talk. Let's go for what now? And talk to me a little bit about. Talk to me about this Second Trojan War.
It's a great ending, isn't it? It's the what am I showing you now? Oh, Gordon Bennett. Yeah, you're back to me again. All right. So I was going to show. I'll put the longer clip up because it's already 9:15, so I don't want to dwell too long on it. There's an 8-minute clip. I'll run it as a separate. I was going to show it tonight, but I just ran a different clip where it covers a lot of this experience of going to what's it called, Glastonbury, and how the things there don't add up. And then he explains very well about this site being the church there, Joseph Arimathea. Talk about the Bishop of Bethlehem, all those things. So look out for that. I'll get it up. I might put it up straight after the show, actually, because the video's there. I've got to upload it. All right, let's move on with the show. So there's Dr. Pidgeon from 3-4 years ago. Look at the beard. Look, see how long ago it was. Look, it's about 4 inches ago. Right, let's look at not a lot of trees in the Middle East. Is it possible Jesus and family came here to buy timber? Oh, it could be, I suppose. I think Lebanon's a traditional place, isn't it? They were carpenters after all. Thank you, Peter. Good to hear your contribution. Appreciate that. Yeah, we're supposed to be carpenters, aren't they? Could be a clue there. I love Dr. Pidgeon. Maybe now you can get saved. Haha, right. Okay, thank you very much there. Sorry, I can't read it. Nancy, I think. I'm trying to look off 2 computers. So that's, if you're not aware of it, the church you can see. Oh, you can't see anything. Come on, Ross, sort yourself out. Right, here we go again. Right, so there's Dr. Pidgeon. My joke didn't make any sense at all, did it? Look at the beard. Now look at the beard. I'm saying that there's about 4 inches ago, last time he came here. This is the church which we're desperately trying to preserve and save. A lot of people keep stealing stones, and it's hardly anything left. It's heartbreaking. This could be, well, it's one of the oldest. The sites are one of the oldest churches in the world. I am going to do a video soon about the full excavation. I've got all the notes here, the full reports. 7 layers of churches going all the way back to 1st century. Incredibly ancient site. Incredibly important. This area didn't used to be this barren, empty hill you see before you now. If you look down to this hill behind there, in the hot weather night, you can see the markings out of a town. Just down the hill, you've got Trebran. It's important. Trevran, it's called, mutated from Bran the Blessed. And this was the place where, well, Christianity first began and flourished. This is the site. Behind me, this would have been some sort of, I always call this the preacher's stone, but I don't know for certain. It seems like a good place to preach from. There's the church. And behind, so where the photo was taken, you've got the massive boat-shaped mound where you've got the ancient burial sites. Craddock's burial site, the one who went to Rome, Caractacus, Craddock. He's back up the hill. We got Myrig's burial site. Arthur's burial site's probably nearby. Keep our hands on our hats for now. All those things around here. It's like this. It's like a Welsh Valley of the Kings, of the old British kings, and it's just got wind farms on it, and it's appalling what's happened. There you see Dr. Pidgeon there recording something. It really is a fascinating site. One thing I would say about the church, though, it's called St. Peter's, but if you look at it in this, my Welsh, I know I sang a song in Welsh. I don't speak Welsh. I'm trying to learn, but it's Llan Bad Mawr, and I think the bad in there is Wilson and Blackett point out means the church. So it's the big church, the boat. Llan is the church or the church estate. Llan Bad Mawr is the large boat, which would undoubtedly, I would say, be a reference to the Greg boat-shaped mound, because the mounds are not round; they're boat-shaped. And the idea is you put rather like the church, you have the burial site at the right of the altar. You have in the helmsman's position where you would steer the ship on the old ships before they had the modern rudders. So, Badr has been translated to Peter. So I'm not sure this is St. Peter's Church, but it's known as St. Peter's Super Mortem. And it's a fascinating site. You have to go up there. Everyone should go up there like a pilgrimage. One of the first churches in the world, just down the hill, is Llan Ilid. Now, one of the questions I asked Dr. Pidgeon is, who do you think Ilid was? And that's going to be another chat for another day. The theory is that Ilid, the name, refers to of Galilee, Al-Ilid. And this would be the reference to Joseph of Arimathea. But talking on this, something's missing. We're missing something here, right? This is work in progress. We're missing something. Wilson and Blackett are very confident that Ilid is Joseph of Arimathea. It also might be he of Galilee. It could even be Jesus himself. The description fits him. And with discussion, we're trying to work out who this would be, who the relationships are. And in Llan Ilid, that's the circle church you've seen. Just type it in the search. You can see videos showing how it works and the acoustics and all that kind of thing. And we'll go back to it again. All these places are in no distance. It's only a few miles down to the coast to Llan Illtyd Fawr, Llan Twit Major. The twit is a bit of an insult. Is it a case of Illtyd and Ilid, the same person? I have a suspicion that Illtyd, a lot of the places, if not all of them, have been glued on top of Ilid to hide him, to hide the origins of Christianity. As Dr. Pidgeon was saying in the previous clip, this ongoing battle has taken place. Christianity started here. This is where it began. This is original Christianity. But hundreds of years later, the Roman Church wanted to claim the origins. So they had to hide all these stories. Now, if you talk to Lawrence Main, the druid up in the north, he sees Illtyd as the bad guy. He sees him as the one bringing in the Roman ways. And the battle was, and he, like Grimus Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings, he talked into the ear of Arthur and got Arthur to fight against the North Walians who were protecting the old ways. So, whoa, this gets complicated. This is why it's so much fun and interesting to explore all this. Okay, so this is the fascinating sites there. Right, so one of the things we're going to look at, when we look at the site of where the grave of Joseph Arimathea is, just to show you, there's the Blackfriars. It's an old map. I think it's the 16th century. I think it's Sexton's map. Man, I should know the name of the map. Apologies for that, but it's 16th century. It's very old, okay? There's Blackfriars. That's the place you saw us standing in. This is where the grave is. Not marked, I note, on here. Now, what I wanted to look at is the river is split. See how the river's split? This is the Taff. See, spelling could be so random in the old days, but that's the Taff, all right? English people trying to spell Welsh words, all the spelling's wrong. So don't get too wound up by spelling, okay? Blackfriars, look how Friars is spelt, you know? There's no, totally different to the modern spelling. But what this does, because these two, if you go a bit further up, they join. It's the river separating, and this creates an island. You see how this is an island? And that's crucial. All these things behind the island of Avalach, perhaps, what Wilson and Blackett proposing. And if you look at also, I hope you can see my little cursor, sorry it's not larger. You've got a wall here, look. And this wall makes this area safe. You've got water all around it and a big, big wall there. And if you want to come this way, you have to go into the castle. Now, what's curious, this is not the same as the modern castle. The modern castle was largely built by the Buttes, 1870s onwards. But you can see, long before them, there was an ancient castle. And I would suggest this mound here is significant, even before the castles were there. So this is where they walled themselves in. This is all protected. So you've got the holy sites where the friars are. They'll be growing food, all that kind of thing here. And it's linked to the castle. And this, see, Cockerton Street. This is how history disappears. Really, really important. All these ancient names. That's now rather lamely called Queen Street. Means nothing. Very frustrating. And you got the Westgate. That's still there. Still called Westgate. And you can see why. It makes sense in those days. And this is the route of the river going through almost the centre of Cardiff. And look at this down here, St. Mary's. Very important. This St. Mary's Church down here, this could be 1st century originally. This is one of the first churches in the world. And this could be a clue to the Mary, either the mother or wife of Jesus. This is what we're talking about. Very, very early Christianity. And for those who go to Cardiff these days, you see, I think it's probably this one. I think it's that one. It's Go Late Street. It might be that one. I think it's this one. Why would you call a strait Go Late? Well, the ships are set off from Roath Docks up here, and they come down the Taff. And if you missed the boat, as they say, what you could do is run, and you didn't have health and safety and risk assessments in those days. These little boats, you can see the drawings of them. They come down here, you could jump on here. It's your next chance to catch the ship before it leaves. Down to St. Mary's. Tragically, all that's left of this St. Mary's flattened is one stone behind a grill at the back of a sort of, well, it used to be a cinema, it's been a nightclub, it's that kind of thing. It's a big building. So that can't be seen there. And you've got the haze around here, and if you look closely, you will see there's a wall. So this was all of Cardiff, this area, right? So very, very important. Eastgate, the Westgate. What's that, Leon?
Is that the football thing? Yeah.
Ah, right. Thank you, Leon. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, no, you're quite right, Leon. Good question. I should have mentioned that. Yeah, the rugby ground is here now. But what you'll find is the river doesn't cut it off from the town, because Isambard Kingdom Brunel came along in the late 19th century, so 1870s, 1880s, and he wanted to build massive train station down here, which is on the, GWR, God's Wonderful Railway, the Great Western. And to accommodate this river had to be moved. So the Victorians, in their grand scheme of things, diverted the river. So the river now comes down there, which is why it's no longer obvious it's an island. It doesn't look like an island anymore. The river comes down and across there. So rugby grounds here, train stations down there. The whole geography is completely different, which is why old maps like this are such a treasure, okay? So that's the background. This is the island we're talking about. So this seems to be the island of Avalac, perhaps. It's definitely the first island. But let's not get confused. That's not the same as Glastenic. This isn't where you got his 12 hides of land and all that kind of thing. We'll see what that is in a minute. Thank you to Tim Lewis. Took this photo a few years ago. You could still got a chance of reading the Latin. It says Bethlehem. You can see the years and all that. Here lies. My Latin's not very good, almost non-existent. All right, so saying there's one of the books, Holy Kingdom. And there's a good background in here. So if you just don't mind me, I'll give the new unpublished work from Wilson and Blackett then. But first of all, just going to read a little bit from here, because he is a very good writer, I have to say. I know they had a bit of a fallout over various things. Sadly, that seems to happen with Wilson and Blackett. As I think Richard Hall put it brilliantly, he said, me and him were the last two people who could tolerate them. Doesn't make the history wrong. Right. So this is Adrian Gilbert talking about his conversation with Alan and Barham. So we went back to the beginning of the story. In 1191, the Benedictine monks of Glastonbury Abbey in Somerset carried out an archaeological dig. This is the con, right? This is the con that was done. Their monastery had recently been burnt to the ground in a terrible conflagration. It's a fire to most of us. and they were sorely in need of funds to rebuild it. At the time, as we have seen, stories concerning King Arthur were all the rage in the courts of Europe, and nowhere more so than in Wales. Hearing from a Welsh bard that Arthur was said to have been buried at a place called Glastonbury, all right, we're going to see that in a minute, Henry II passed on the information to his cousin, the Abbot of Glastonbury. So he's the cousin of the king. Equating Glastonbury with their own Glastonbury. Sounds close, doesn't it? Why not? The monks set about looking for Arthur's tomb in the vicinity of their abbey. In the course of a dig they conducted in the graveyard, they turned up some curiously large bones, which they had no scruples in identifying as those of King Arthur and Queen Guinevere, immediately informing Henry II of the success of the operation. Anyway, Alan Wilson's probably cow bones. They had a screen around it so you couldn't see it. Anyway, actually the monks were not acting totally in the dark. They had in their possession other legends stating that Arthur had been taken to a place called Avalach, or Abalach, to recover from the wounds he received in his last battle, Camlan. It was assumed that this must be the same place as Avalon. Another big assumption. Avalach and Avalon, not necessarily the same either. Hey, anyway, another name by which the Glastonbury area was known in the Middle Ages. Other documents spoke of a place called Ynys Wydrin as being the place of a refuge where Joseph of Arimathea had been granted lands by King Gwyrydd Arveragus. That's where he got his Red Cross from, which the English now use. As they knew that Ynys meant island in Welsh, and it was assumed that Wydrin meant glassy, as in vitreous, Ynys Wydrin was translated as glassy island, which they took to mean Glastonbury. Thus the monks were happy to believe and to tell anyone who asked them that their monastery of Glastonbury was built on the same glassy island on which Joseph of Arimathea had established his first community. This same story is repeated in innumerable guidebooks to this day. Right, that during the 1st century AD, the area of Somerset around Glastonbury was a marshy wilderness with little to recommend it, and therefore unlikely to have been gifted by a friendly king to a dignitary of Joseph's standing, was not allowed to block the way of a good story of origins. Right, the facts get in the way of a good story, eh? Nor were the myth makers, foremost among them who must be counted William of Malmesbury, anxious to probe too deeply into Welsh records that contradicted it. He, like so many academics today, was not a Welsh speaker, and in fact was virulently anti-Welsh. This is the problem. Racism comes into this all the way through. He was only too happy to twist the evidence to give the Somerset Avalon an antique history it didn't merit. Right, I'll just get a little bit more about this, because he is a very good writer. The discovery in 1191 of such holy relics as the bones of Arthur turned Glastonbury Abbey, which as a religious house had until then been relatively unimportant, into a centre of pilgrimage. This greatly aided the monks in their task of acquiring the necessary funds for rebuilding the abbey after the fire. It also fitted in with the policy of the king, who wanted to anglicise the Arthurian legend, which until then had been closely identified with Wales. Arthur was always identified with Wales. The Red Dragon, even Henry VII, but Henry II was trying to make it English story, and it's still going on. This is still trying to make it an English story, even though he thought the size. It's bizarre, isn't it? There's a corollary to the story of the Glastonbury hoax. For in the next century, Edward the one who went around bashing up everybody, he wanted to be king of all Britain rather than just England. He used the pretext of Arthur's having been king not only of England but also of Scotland and Wales to argue that he, as Arthur's successor in England, had every right to subjugate these independent kingdoms. So that was the point of the story. Arthur can't just be a king in Wales, he's a king of everything, a united Britain. I'm the successor, therefore, and I'm now a king of everything, which is why the bones had to be found and the whole story changed. His main opponent in Wales was a king called Llywelyn Fawr, that's Llywelyn the Great. He was in alliance with Simon de Montfort, all the War of the Roses stuff. You got to read The Sun in Splendour. It's a wonderful book, one of my favourites. The Earl of Leicester, who had a beautiful daughter named Eleanor, with whom Llywelyn was besotted. To cement their alliance, Simons promised her hand in marriage to the Welsh king, and in 1277 she was duly dispatched by ship taken to join her fiancé. However, Edward, if not totally against this match, was determined that it only should happen on his terms. He sent 3 warships to intercept the bride-to-be in the Severn estuary, and she was taken back to England as a hostage. Llywelyn was beside himself with anguish, but Edward declared that she would be released only if Llywelyn came in person to meet him at Glastonbury. Here Edward had the collection of Arthur bones brought out and exhibited for the benefit of his guest. It is said that Llywelyn burst out laughing when he saw them and invited Edward to place his hand on the skull, thus demonstrating that, as his palm fitted comfortably between its eyes, the bones were not those of a giant but of an ox. The wedding between Llywelyn and Eleanor took place in Westminster Abbey at 1278. Anyway, thereafter the myth that Glastonbury was the final resting place of Arthur fell into some disrepute. They busted the story in 1278, 800 years ago. Though it's not until the dissolution of the monasteries by Henry VIII in 1539 that the elaborate tomb housing these bovine remains was eventually demolished. Oh, so there you go. That's a bit of the background. Really important. Like I said, you can usually pick these up quite cheaply on Amazon. Oh, I brought a cup of tea. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr. Wel, cariad. Right, so you can read more about that. So that's where it was then. This is where it was when Adrian Gilbert was collaborating on the book with Wilson and Blackett. All right, let's go on to the new stuff. That's what everyone's been chomping at the bit for. Right, so what we got now? Oh, thank you, Leon. Thank you. That's why you get paid the big bucks. Right, so we got some supporting details now. Okay, so the first one is, and I'm going to have to jump to a map to show you where these places are, okay? Now, if you go onto the official account, and I'll be doing this today, I can't put everything up tonight, you will find they talk a lot about St. Cotlan, right? No one's disputing Cotlan. In Welsh, a ca mutates to a ga. Makes it easier to say. So you can't say Llangollen. It's a spoken language. It's Llangollen. It runs off the tongue. Whoops, excuse me. He's said to have spent a lot of his time at Glastonbury. This is in his life. You've got the lives of the saints. So the life of St. Cotlan. And it is indeed logical, as Llangollen, and this is what we're talking about now, the Lichfield Glastonbury area just opposite each other across the new English-Welsh border. Right, now I have not rehearsed this, but I'm going to, hopefully my geography is good enough to get us through the next bit. Alright, so we're going to pull up a, okay, you can, hang on a second. Map of Llangollen, which is where the International Festival is and all that kind of stuff. Every year, you might recognise the name. We used to have a music and singing festival. Maps. Come on, Google. Don't go slow me now. Right, okay. Let's go full screen. Right, Llangollen, here we go. Can we zoom out? Oh, thank goodness for that. Right, there we are. So it's up in North Wales, up here, okay? There's Llangollen. If you get a chance to go to the festival, I don't know if it's back on again after the madness of the last few years. I went there as a child. It's brilliant. All these choirs from all over the world come there. It's a great international festival of friendship and singing and all those wonderful things. And if we look at this, that's interesting, Whitchurch. Got one of those in Cardiff. So that's there. Right, now where we're looking now for the places we're talking about is this kind of area. Around here, we got Telford, Shrewsbury. We're into Warwickshire. We're looking at this sort of area, which is where, if we follow the river up, try and do it more detailed, follow the Severn up, we're talking around here. So from Llangollen, where Cotlan was based, to there, you can see where they went back and forth. The border didn't exist in those days. This is the link, all right? Let's try and zoom in a little bit. So we can find, I'll tell you what, let's type in, I can see this done live now. Let's see if we can find Lichfield, shall we? Lichfield. I don't want map of Lichfield, I just want Lichfield. Lichfield. Oh, yes, there's a Lichfield Tudor Street in Cardiff. Anyway, sorry, stick to the point, Ross. Right, Lichfield, that's a lovely picture of Lichfield, isn't it? There's the car showroom, look. Come on, come on, come on, come on. There's Tewkesbury, seen famous battle in the English Civil War. Oh, it's a bit further down, isn't it? Lichfield. The ones we want are more up here. I think that's the wrong Lichfield. Because what we're looking at here is... This is... hang on. All right. Okay, let's go back to what Alan Wilson tells us about this. Worcester. That's a bit further down than I thought. We want to be nearer, looking up... Oh, I bet there's more than one Lichfield. It's this area we want to be looking at. All right, okay. Never do your practicing in public, eh? Okay, we can look for that. But anyway, it's Llangollen round about here. Even here is not too far. So that's a lot nearer when and Glastonbury, which is going to be down here somewhere. So where's Glastonbury? Glastonbury Tor, there we go, right in the middle of it all. Right, okay, zoom, 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 zoom. So Glastonbury's all the way down there. Switch out. So we're looking at a place around about here somewhere. Going back and forth to Llangollen. It's a bit further than I thought, though, I have to say. I thought it was a bit further up. All the way down here to Glastonbury. All right, okay, let's get back to our main narrative now. Come on, full screen there. Okay, hang on a second. Current slide. Here we go. Right, there we go. Right, the next one. St. Gildas is said to have visited Glastonbury, and this is again logic. For Cow, the father of Gildas, had lands in Anglesey. So again, we're in North Wales, which is much closer proximity to the Midlands than way down in Somerset. Right, bit of a texty one here. This is directly their notes, okay, as they wrote them. These are north of Wall, near Lichfield and Tamworth. That's the name of the place I was looking for. Right. Let's see where Tamworth is, shall we? Right, okay. Let's type that in there. You can see all my tabs open at the top. Tamworth. Let's go Tamworth. There we go. Here we go. There, and there's Wall. Whoa. Zoom back in again, Ross. Zoom back in. There's the place I really wanted was there then. It came up on the screen for a second. Very important. It said Wall. Come on. Where did it say Wall? Anyway, Wall is the ancient British capital. Alright, so those who say this is just a Welsh nationalist site, the ancient British capital was in this area. We're not talking in... Wall, look, Wall. That's the ancient... They call it Roman, but it massively predates. Right, so here we go. There's the Lichfield they were looking for. Wrong Lichfield. There we go. I thought there was something wrong. A few slight panic then. But if you look, there's Lichfield on the map here as well. And this is the one we want. Shall we have more? And it's also, if you notice, if Ashby de la Zouch, I just noticed this. This isn't from Wilson and Blackett, so it's wrong. It's my fault. But Ashby de la Zouch is a traditional centre of England. So this is where your capital would be, near the middle. Ashby de la Zouch. So the geographical centre. And if you remember then, Llangollen, get rid of that. Llangollen was about here. This is about there, right? So that's what we're talking about, that area, going back and forth. Okay, that's the Lichfield, not that Lichfield. Phew, I thought there was something wrong there. I have to read the comments as well. So we're talking about this area. This, ignoring this modern border between England and Wales, Llangollen just that side. These sites around here. This was the old centre. And curiously, if you look around here, Telford and places like that, that's where the Industrial Revolution started back in the 18th century. So with iron bridges, the old coal furnaces. This is where it really got going. And the reason is you've got the Severn comes all the way up here. And if we zoom out a bit further, it's the Severn is the gateway to this area, down to the Mediterranean and to northern France and Brittany. This is the area. That was the route taken by the D-Day invasion. The Thames also goes as far as here as well. So the Thames, and they don't meet, but the Severn and the Thames are both this kind of area. This is the centre of England. London got its prominence later. And you have to remember, back in those days, the currently fertile areas of the east, with England more around here, were swamps and woodlands. They were not what you see today. All that drainage and clearance came much, much later. And now you've got these vast fields, and it's the real breadbasket of Britain. Whereas in those days, especially when the water levels are higher, as we think they probably were, a lot of this would actually be under the sea anyway. It wouldn't have been this big. So this is the kind of story we're looking at. This is the centre of Britain here. All right, and that's where the story is based according to Wilson and Blackett. All right. Okay. Right, next bit. Llywach Hen. So that's the old, Llywach the old, or Sir Lamorak. Now, when you see the names in brackets, what happens here is you've got the original Welsh historical names of these people. That story got taken over to France with people like Chechen de Troyes and the Normans who loved the stories. Some of the names were changed to fit, just to fit the locals, really. And then when people like Mallory bring the story back and copy it, we're now talking about legends. They take some information from the original sources, but the story's slowly moving further and further away from the original, and we're trying to get back to the original. So Llywach Hen wrote epic poems of battles fought in the past of the Ardennes forest, at identifiable name sites still traceable today. These are north of Wall, so we just saw on the map, near Lichfield and Tamworth. Llywach was a pensioner, a maintained person of the court of Arthur II. And Llywach Hen lies buried at Llangollen. It's all in that little area, yeah, where his memorial stone is. Again, Llywach's family are traceable to this region of the mixed British and Mercian populations. And I think that might be next week's. I'm going to do it soon. The Mercians are the Vandals, right? Not Saxons. Now, the other one you'll see, if you go to the official tour guides and stuff at Glastonbury, they talk about King Ina being Saxon. And this is one of their big, strong claims for it being a Saxon settlement, because they say the Saxons arrived in the 7th century after one of the battles in the area, 665, I think. By which time the Saxons were also Christians. So they would not, because they were Christians, they would not have destroyed the older church. This is the fairy tale we're fed, okay? Let's go into a bit more detail. So King Ina married Ethelfleda, and they held court at Tamworth on the River Tame. That's why it's called Tamworth, the River Tame. King Ina gave vast land grants to Glastonbury Church. This is the whole story. Joseph was given the 12 hides of land. It's quite a large area. Who gave it and why? In the official accounts on the Glastonbury record, you'll see that Ina is said to have given these grants. And yet, her land was around that area, around Tamworth. So that's where the land that the ruler had to give. Person didn't have any influence, because what's happened there, let's read off here, it's the best. These are said to be on a river identifiable as the Tame, yet that's been twisted into the Tamar in Cornwall. King Ina had no influence nor lands in Somerset. How can a person give lands if they don't have any? None in Somerset, Devon or Cornwall. It should be a comma there after Somerset. So his gifts to Glastonbury around 688 have to be Lichfield, Glastonbury in the Midlands, where he ruled. Place names existing today confirm this, and I've got more on that. All the names around that area, around Wall and that, you can still trace the old Welsh translations. I'll give you a clue if you want to research yourself. Anything with Lee on the end, L-Y, represents a court. And all around that area you see lots of Lees, and there's different courts. That's where Britain was run from. That's the ancient capital, right? Very, very important area. It's where the ancient kings are buried near there. It's crucial. That Warwickshire area around Wall, Tamworth, Lichfield, all around there. Arthurstone's near there, where Arthur the First would have been buried. A place called Oldbury. It's very important. So place names existing today confirm this. Again, the scene shifts to the Midlands area. And you got Hewell. Hewell, the brother of St Gildas. He was executed at Ruthin, or Rithin. It's said that Arthur and him had a dispute, probably over one of Arthur's common law wives. You see it all coming together. He had his head chopped off. So you can see the stone again still stands in the town square. Again, it's in that area. That's where Rithin is. It's not right at the top. It's there, near the English border. Now, this is another one. Only today I was reading this in one of the handbooks from Glastonbury. They talk about a place called Gwrthaelyn, which they have no idea what it means. It's a description. It's not it's a descriptive name. This is how the Welsh language works, but you don't get the Welsh language treated seriously by the research. So the Welsh name of Warwickshire, the county, is Gwrthwylyn, or the men of the military retinue. This is the capital. This is the centre, the armies. So the Roman name for Arthur's Midland location seems to translate as the seats of command given. Strange appellation, unless you see it as a military capital. William of Malmesbury cites a location near Arthur's burial place called Apples, again in Avalach. Just a few miles north of the grave is Appleby Magna and Appleby Parva. You can see these on the map. This is correct, and nothing to do with ludicrous apple growing theories in Somerset. Every record and every location given is clearly traceable to identifiable sites in the West Midlands. St Dunstan was made abbot of Glastonbury, and we're back to the Somerset one, and he was the first abbot, number one, no one before him. This is when the place was, initiated, inaugurated, consecrated, founded, that's the word, all those words, you can use them all. First abbot in 943. 900 years after the arrival of Joseph. 900 years late. How could it possibly be the site when it's 900 years late? So this means the Somerset site founded by Edgar in 942. Edgar wanted somewhere to be buried, that's why it was built. Therefore, the site patronised by King Ina in 688 has to be somewhere else. And if you read the Glastonbury records, this is what I was referring to earlier, they're trying to fiddle this King Ina, who we know was up in the Midlands. They're trying to say, it's very vague. It's very vague, but it must refer to Glastonbury. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It refers to where it says on the tin. It's clearly in the Midlands of England. Right, bit of a trek now. This is a little side one. It's going to be another separate video because you've got a lot more information on this. There is in Warwickshire the Welsh Gwrthwylyn, an often published folk legend of Guy of Warwick. Guy is simply the Welsh Gwr, meaning the man of Warwick, or the man of the military retinue, because don't forget Warwickshire, we just translated that. This legendary folk tale recounts the mighty military adventures of Guy of Warwick, and these exactly parallel the military campaigns of Arthur I, son of Magnus. There's a slight detour, as Wilson and Blackett always do, but it's relevant because it shows this is where the capital was. This is where the kings were based. So he defeats invading foes, Picts, Irish, Saxons, and he invades Europe to fight against the ruler of Constantinople in the Balkans. Well, I mean, who else has got all that on their CV is happening? I'm talking 4th century now, 380s. Finally, Guy returns home, good news, to live in semi-retirement and dies peacefully to be buried alongside his wife. A very potent, very clear local historical remembrance of remarkable accuracy. That's what we're talking about. That's Arthur I. He's not Arthur the Round Table. He comes 6 generations later. So British genealogies preserved in Wales clearly exhibit that Owain Gwynddi was the powerful military son of Arthur I. There's no doubt this Owain Black Moustache is the Sir Gawain of legend and romance. And his burial mound is actually in southeast Wales. It's a very impressive burial mound. In life, Owain Gwynddi is recorded as being killed in North Wales, fighting an Irish king who was also killed. This happened in AD 434. So 380s was the invasion of Europe. This is like sort of a generation later. Cynnydd Wledig was appointed to replace Owain, or Gawain. So you see, when you start using the right Welsh pronunciations, Owain instead of Owen, Owain and Gawain, you can see the similarities. In 434, Anenius records that Maelgwn Gwynedd was elected king 146 years after Cynnydd, when Arthur II died. As Arthur II died in 579 and Maelgwn was elected in 580, it all fits, right? It all fits. This is why, as another thing which he hasn't mentioned there directly, Maelgwn, with historical records, he's from Llandaff. That's a different one. It's not the Maelgwn here. This is Maelgwn of Gwynedd. Different person, different part of Wales, right? Different part of the story. So the songs of the graves record the graves of Owain Vindhi as at Llanhilleth in Gwent. Pretty sure there's a video if you want to see the grave. I've been there, filmed it with Matthew Ross, and I'm pretty sure that's up. If you type in Llanhilleth on the search, you should find the video. The Great Tomb Mound is still there. If you haven't seen the picture, I should put a picture here because it sums up a lot about British history. All right, England, Wales, Scotland, wherever you like. If it doesn't fit the current dynasty and the current church we've got, it's in the yard of a farm. it's just surrounded by farm stuff and animals and things, and it's just there. It's just such an important grave site. And this goes on and on and on. And another one, which I can't steal the thunder because it might be in Richard's show. I don't know how he's going to edit it. But Tim Lewis, who knows Cardiff like no one else I know, he was sure he knew where one of the grave mounds was, or star mounds, maybe a grave mound. Very difficult to tell because it's not there anymore. But he says he remembers it from when he was a child, and he took me to where he remembered it. So we filmed it all and everything, and with nothing there at all. It's just some 1970s flats stuck on it. And he was adamant he remembered when he was a young boy in the early 70s, there was a mound there. He played on it. He lived nearby, him and his friends. He remembered it being taken down. So what we did then, we went back and had some breakfast, early filming. And then, I didn't think of it before we went. Tim said, let's look at the 1880 maps, which he's got, the tithe maps, which he has on his phone. And sure enough, there's the tump, right by where he said it was, behind the Fox and Hounds pub in Whitchurch. So I laughed when I saw Whitchurch on the map. And opposite the very ancient St. Mary's Church. So how evocative is all that? But now it's just flats. You would not even know the mound was there without the old maps. So download the maps, get physical copies of them, because maps have a strange habit of changing, okay? Like earlier we talked about the grave of Craddock. There used to be a monument to the fallen Welsh soldiers, well, not necessarily soldiers, but fallen Welsh heroes. And that was used as a trig point, and now it's disappeared. Since Wilson and Blackett came along with the histories, it's gone off the map since the 80s, and other monuments gone as well, which I think is a disgrace. Anyway, the Great Tomb Mound is still there alongside the very ancient mortuary church of St. Illtyd. Yep. Last time I went there was all closed for COVID, so I will go back there again. Matthew, if you're watching this, Matthew Ross, let's go up there again, Bucks. I always get lost around there. And it'd be nice to see you again. It's been ages. Right, so we can locate the grave of Arthur's eldest son who died in 434. 4 medieval poems survive detailing the adventures of Arthur. All are definitely written in the West Midland dialects. The dialects as well. Alright, so forget the Welsh nationalism and all that. It's British history, and we're back in the West Midlands now. So all detail Arthur I and Owain Vindhi. This can be shown in detail. Arthur I is stated to appoint Owain to rule South East Wales, which is why he comes down to South East Wales. Family seems to move with him. That's where descendants more are, and that's where his grave mound is. So South East Wales, Gloucester and Oxfordshire. Big area. And this accounts why the graves are in Gwent, which is where Llanhilleth is. Tudor Mound is another one. Now another grave mound. We can find all these people. This is the great thing about British history as opposed to just about any other history in the world. There's physical evidence. You can go and see the mounds with the names. The names are still there. His mound is called Toyn Tudor. It's the mound of Tudor. I went up there with Sean Morgan. You might remember then. Tim Lewis. It's fantastic. Beautiful mound. The mound's called Toyn Tudor. The church is the Church of Tudor. The sign acknowledges that the church predates the current Norman church and was dedicated to Tudor, and yet the mound's called a Motte and Bailey Castle. That's the world we live in. Anyway, so Tudor Mound is another grandson of Arthur I, is buried in a vast mound alongside Mynydd Isloin Church. That's the name of the hill, Mynydd Isloin. The church is actually called Tudor Church. Mynydd Isloin is the town. Tudor or Teithrin was the father of Teithfelt Theodosius, and he's buried inside the church he built called Llandudfwlch. Oh, I don't think I've been there. That's where I need to go to. See, Theodosius as well ties in with some of the stones we're trying to read at Margam. There's a fascinating one. You wait to upload those videos and you can see Dr. Pidgeon explaining some of the symbology on the stones in Margam. Blew my mind. And he pointed out some things. I'm sure Alan Wilson didn't miss them, but because a lot of this might have happened since Alan was there. But if you go to the display, you got the stone, the real physical stone. It's right there. And above it a plaque giving the translation. But when you look, the words that are being translated don't match the words on the stone. You can see the words on the stone. Look them up. They're not the same. And a few other things. So look out for those. We've got so much to put up. I've been out busy filming and doing things. Writing articles. I got to get onto the books as well. But I might just chuck the videos up. Chuck them up. Just put them up as they are, raw footage, okay? So, as you know, I'm not a filmmaker. Just a content provider and share is the idea. Right, we're almost there now. Last couple of slides, 10 o'clock. You should be in bed by now, Leon. School tomorrow morning. Anyway, this tracing of British Dark Age kings descended from Arthur I, son of Magnus, goes on. With Teudrig, Theodore, son of Teithfelt. Oh, thank you for the gift. Just popped up. That's very nice of you. Yeah, we need something to keep going with. More books would help. And all donations. Become a Patreon supporter. That'd be great. If you're a Patreon supporter, all the downloads you get free. I'll be giving this download free. They all go out to the Patreon supporters, okay? So I share all the information. There are some bonuses for those who help keep this going.
There's a message, Daddy's on it.
The message. Ross, you need to get in contact with Dave Murphy. A.k.a. allegedly Dave. I've met Dave Murphy. We'd be really interested to know his take on the migrations to the UK and the royal history and races. If it's a Dave Murphy, I think it is. I shared a platform with him at the event Martin Leaker organised in the big hotel in Birmingham. And he's got a very, very different view on who the Welsh are. He is interesting. If you go to his channel, just type David Murphy on YouTube, and you'll see lots of stuff. His main thing is how to get off law, I would say. Malmudian law and real law and what you have to and don't have to do and all that kind of stuff. He's very, very, very clever guy. I'll be interested. Yeah, well, I did have a little bit of a chat with him, and we're gonna do a joint broadcast at some point. So thanks for the suggestion. We're a long way away though. His ideas, like, woo, where did they come from? So, should I summarise him? No, I won't summarise him now. I think I'll leave that for him. It's not fair. Look like I'm setting up a straw man argument. Right. Anyway, so let's go back a bit. Teudrig, also known as Theodoric, because his name get Latinised. Yeah, later on, son of Teithfelt. So the way it goes, you got Arthur II, Round Table. Before his father's Myrig, Teudrig, Teithfelt. What's the other one? Oh, Rossi B. Let yourself down. Till, and they all begin with ta. Anyway, then we get back to Teithrin. That's right. Then we get back to Arthur I. All right. This is where the descent. They all seem to move from the Wendlands down to southeast Wales, from Owain, as we've seen. So Tudor Teithrin was the father of King Teithfelt. It's Theodosius, who was buried inside the church he built. Hang on, we've done that one. Hang on. Oh, here we go. Right, so this tracing of British Dark Age kings descended from Arthur I, son of Magnus. One of the reasons I sang the song, by the way, he was in Welsh. You might have picked up the name Magnus Ledig. Oh, hang on, mixed up Magnus Maximus. Anyway, it's the same as this. The idea was, see, the Welsh history, the Welsh nationalists, it's a twist on this. They haven't got it quite right as far as we can see. The song I sang earlier talks about in 383, so that's the European invasions, Magnus Maximus, yes, or Magnus Ledig, yes, Mascan Ledig in Welsh. They left, and the official line is they took all the Roman armies with them, and they never returned. So the song says that Wales has been independent since Mascon Ledig left in 383 and took the armies to Europe and never returned. So that's the starting date of an independent Wales. What they don't realise, and I wish the Welsh nationalists would take more interest in this, is that Mascon Ledig was British. I was going to say Welsh. He's kind of Welsh. The Welsh are sort of descendants of the original British. And there's a British army that went over to Europe, all right? He wasn't Roman even before then. He was already independent and had been for a long time. So the Welsh nationalists sell themselves a little bit short there, but it's a great song. And actually, it's a great song, isn't it? That's the football use it all the time now. Soccer. Right, so anyway, I'll have my fourth attempt at this page. So this tracing of British Dark Age kings descended from Arthur I, son of Magnus, goes on, with Theodrig, son of Teithfelt, buried at Mathern in Gwent. And it's Mathern, place of the king. Mathern, place of the Thane. You'll see in Lord of the Rings, another Welsh word they use, the Thanes, the kings, in Gwent. His son, Meirig, not sure that's spelt correctly, but Meirig, Morris, is buried in Land of Cathedral in Cardiff. Then Arthur II, son of Meirig, is buried at St. Peter's. And that's the picture I showed you earlier. God, it's like this thing was planned, wasn't it? Not just thrown together, these shows. At Caer Caradog on Mynydd y Gaer, which is the bit I showed you earlier with Dr. Pidgeon up on the hill. This goes on and on and on and on down to the present day. The Glamorgan and Gwent evidence is vital to trace back to and identify the mighty Arthur I. The Glamorgan-Gwent kingdom can be shown in detail to be one vast, massive fortress. We've done all those Fortress Glamorgan videos. And this accounts the move south in part. They might have moved to South Wales specifically because it was so defendable and it had such great resources. Everything you need. If you're playing one of those games, God games, you get a little kingdom to build, South Wales is where you want it. You got your coal, your wood, fertile land. You've got the vale with the flat areas where you can grow your crops and raise your sheep. You've got horse lands. You've got lime. You've got copper, iron, everything. Everything. It's like a dream. It's like every resource you can think of is all together. This accounts the move south, and also they're surrounded by a ring of mountains, cliffs along the coast, and rivers guarding your borders. You couldn't design it better as a defendable kingdom. This accounts the move south in part. Specifically, the great treachery of the massacre at the Caer Caradog Peace Conference. That's the Cadwyn myth. Cadwyn was not a battle in the north, it was a massacre. I've got more unpublished notes from Wilson and Blackett that we show no soon. Around 470 brought the end of King Niniaw and his heirs and the crown past to Teithfelt, great-grandson of Arthur I. They were wiped out. 300-odd British nobles tricked into a peace conference, stabbed in the dark. Oh, it might not have been dark. So there you go, folks. How about that? Wow. 10:05. It's a lot to take in, but you can see it all ties together. And this is the magic with the Wilson and Blackett. And who's going to do the closing music? Is me, Arnie, or you? Do we give Arnie a shout then? He's probably ready for it. This is the magic of all this is the physical evidence is there. The names are there. You can pick these stories apart. I love this stuff. One of my favourite parts of the whole story is this whole idea of Joseph going all the way back, and then you can see all this physical evidence. If you've never read Wilson and Blackett before, get into it. And if you want to know more about these sites, there's a few of these left, not very many. They are selling out. These are originals, they're hardback. Sound like a salesman now, I suppose I am. Hang on, it's upside down, there we go. Arturius Rex discovered, because this stone here, which we want back, please. Those people who got it, guy in America, I'm going to chase it down. We do want the stone backs. This ties in with the burial site up in Warwickshire, where Arthur I was buried, okay? Very important. And this book, Arturius Rex, discovered, if you want to go around the South Wales sites, predominantly South Wales, there's also explains about Glastonbury and things like that as well. But predominantly it gives you maps of where the sites are, how to find them, all the background. This is jammed with information. I've done videos where chapter 1's about 10 different videos. It's so jammed with information. And this is the problem. This is why it's so difficult. That's why when I plan to 1 hour video on a Sunday evening ends up being 2 hours. Why I can't get the information out quick enough. I'm doing videos every day, got books to produce, interviews, articles, wherever I can. because it's the whole history. It's huge. So we need your support and help. There are people out there doing great work. There's the Steve Willett stuff I'm going to show you soon. Working up the whole star mountains, the star maps. There's vast subjects. It's incredibly exciting. It's also incredibly vast, which is why don't get time to rehearse shows and things go wrong. It's all part of the charm, the way. Is Arnie coming? Right, I'm going to read some comments now. This is right, because... thank you. Another £20 gift. Wow, this is great. Thank you very much indeed. Right, let's have a look. I'm going to just... Hang on, I'll use you on my computer, actually. You keep that one. As long as I'm not screen sharing, I can do this. I can try.
What's it called? Make it so you can drag around the comments.
I can drag around the comments.
Yeah,
Or don't...
screen share.
Oh, mate, I have no idea on that, because I'm not a filmmaker. I got a message from Jessica. Yep, sorry, I should read the spiel. As Jessica puts on that broadcast, I will put the link up after the show. So as Jessica puts it, they discuss the significant historical importance and trace back the steps of Joseph Arimathea and Mary Magdalene and who she was, including interesting finds provoking continued study and research. Well put. Thank you very much. And you're excellent host, Jessica. Right, let's zoom back through some of the comments. Hopefully Army will turn up soon with some music to shut us down. Wow, there's loads of good conversation. The other thing on this group, try and make it's an exploration, it's a voyage, we're together, we're side by side, right? We're not doing this. People have different ideas to get there. Great, let's discuss the different ideas and that. I had a wonderful email today, really long, which I'll probably discuss in more detail last week. Disagreeing with a whole list of things, fine, no problem. As long as it's done politely and we keep it civilized, we're all on a voyage of discovery. None of us know absolutely what the truth is, right? None of us do. The sooner we accept that, the better, okay? Right, hello from Massachusetts. Hey, Bill Bacon. I used to live in Massachusetts. So how you doing? I lived in Milton, near Boston. So there we are. It's a soft spot in my heart forever, Massachusetts will have. Right, where do we get to on the comments before? Good evening all from Chris Roberts from Coychurch. Yeah, Coychurch, man, is a great place to live. Fantastic history, Coychurch. Patrick, okay, we just talked the sound. Right, okay, let's have a look. Ron P. from Wikipedia, another late 4th century writer who routinely called the Goths Gator was the poet Claudian. Oh, okay. Getting Dr. Stephen Pidgeon in an interview would be cool. Cool. Yes, yeah, well, I've got a few interviews with him. Well, we kind of talk to each other. We trouble is we try and do an interview, we end up swapping ideas and going off. It's brilliant. I think we could probably talk forever between the two of us. Right, everyone say the sound's okay, so I hope you could hear it. I'm sorry if it was a bit rubbish. Arnie's coming back in to get some closing music. Why was Charles at Llandaff? Oh, that's where we left it, wasn't it? Right. Thank you again to the person who lent me the Waddle book, which I am reading. Man, it's hard going. It's difficult going. So I will return it soon. Thank you. Right, yeah, Marshall, get some more videos up. Right, I'm sorry. There we are. Right, okay, let's look. Most translators regard the Ether as a myth, and that's where Waddle comes in, saying it's not, and ties it in. Johnny Nigma, Mr. Powell. Oh, my goodness, he's such a help. There's so much. More people like him in the world is what we need. We have a nice Stepford chair with Alwen symbol on it at Brecon Guildhall. Ooh, that sounds good. By the time we come met up, I still owe you a lunch as well. And I've got to put the video up. Johnny Nigma there was actually mayor of Brecon and gave me a fascinating tour, and it's just on my list of things to do. And he's a wonderful person. Yeah, I would say he's probably done more in his couple of years as councillor there and mayor than, yeah, all the councillors at Ponty for 50 years. Okay, my legs have gone just looking at the photo. I don't know which picture that was. Right, they're not hieroglyph. People used to scratch words in the stone like their names and people are allowed to climb to the top. Yeah, that's the stuff on the top of the pyramid. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, wouldn't be at all spoiled. Yes, they do know for sure. They know what it's all about, don't they? I wish we could be told the real history. But then again, we wouldn't have the fun of finding it. What else would we do with ourselves? 8th century Viking graffiti in the Hagia Sophia. Right, Achmese. my favourite name, Achmesei Blan Laurelin. I'm getting better at it. Another few weeks I'll have your name nailed. Please, if you can find some pictures of that so-called Viking graffiti, I would love to see it. Help yourself on. I got to avoid dairy. Eat the chocolates. Take them. See, I'm much clearer than I was earlier now. Dim chocolate, Brossy B. Is there... Please send the pictures through to me. I'd love to look at those runes. It could be Colburn, all right? It might not be Viking. Who knows? Tell us more. Right. Who publishes in America? Cepher, Cepher, C-E-P-H-E-R. The link should be down there. Right, not true, Ross. The late Queen was half Scots. Well, I would dispute this. I think Marshall and I should have a discussion about this sometime. Marshall's much more supportive of the royals' claim than I am, and we can discuss the differences. Because I think you'll find a half that's Scottish was also German. If you go back a couple more generations, I think there's very little British in it. But if Marshall says that, she's more likely to be right than I am. Anyway, have a look in next month's Light newspaper, and you'll see my article going through all the Germanic roots. That's going to go down well with certain quarters, isn't it? But there you go. Right, Vlad the Impaler. Yeah, £20 tonight. There we go. Not a bad night's work, is it? Gosh, I'm so late. Yes, you are, Angela. You're very late, Angela Nadeau. Right, Marshall, Meg. I found a phonetic version of the words on YouTube. Great fun. Skrill Sniper. Hello, Skrill. I haven't seen you this evening. In this place, it's also written that the miracle of the changing water and taste will not end until a great lion comes whose neck is bound with heavy chains. That's interesting, because if you look at the Royal Standard or the coat of arms with the lion and the unicorn is wearing the chains. And it seems to me symbolic of when the lion I shouldn't say just me, Rob Shaw, wonderful book, Architecture of Power, put me onto this, and I'm just taking a little bit further. If you look you'll see the unicorn is in chains. The unicorn is said to represent the Stuarts and the British royal dynasty, and the lion represents the city. And it's actually the city running the show. This is what I would go along with, contention. And that the kings and queens are just puppet kings and queens, and they're brought in from abroad because they've got no direct roots with the country, which is why they make perfect puppet kings. It's the way things have always been done in the past with empires. So they go out there as front people, have these great ceremonies, great shows, like we had this last week or so. A wonderful thing, but they're not the real control. As you know, they are what's called a constitutional monarchy. They don't read their own speeches. The Queen goes there, or the King now will be doing the same thing, but the late Queen for the last 70 years, she turns up at Parliament, they have to knock to be allowed in, and she reads the speech that's written for her. And the big controversy which fascinates me about Arthur is everyone's really concerned that he might say something political. He might be independent thinking. He might actually say what he thinks, which I'd have thought is a good thing, but apparently it's not. The rules are you shut up, you wear the fancy outfits, you turn up for the festivals and events you're meant to, you wave, you smile, and you don't cause any problems. So what's the point? That's what I would say. What is the point of being the king apart from you get a nice palace, servants through all your life, and well fed and looked after? If he's really king with any kind of rule or any kind of power, then why is he not allowed to say anything? It's because they're puppets. They've been puppets since the 1680s. The Stuarts were the last real kings. They're the ones who actually had some power to do what they want to do. And we ended up with a civil war and had their head chopped off. That's what happens. This is the real struggle in this country. I can't believe I just did all that because I tried desperately to avoid modern politics. It just slipped out. But if anyone's still here after 2 hours, they probably won't mind hearing it, okay? Oh, keep myself out. Right. Yeah, there's loads of land owned. I always wondered as well, if the royal family owned so much land, why has none of it got wind farms on it? And I'm getting controversial. So I have nothing against the royal family, by the way, or Germans. I speak German. A lot of time over there. It's not a thing. It's not about that. It's the fact that we have a foreign royal family, okay? If they can trace a couple of links to Britain, they are foreign. And if you look at the last few generations, it really jumps out at you. If you look at who they married. Right. David, David Ap Hewell, another David, the Owen signs, I like it. You have to show me how to do that. If you live on a flat plain with no hills or mountains, you may need to build a hill mounted a pyramid, one might say. Yeah, to get a good view, yeah. Sweet guitar, thank you very much. Right, I'm getting in, hurry up. Boys got to go to bed. I feel a lot better for that. Thank you both and well done. Thank you, Marshall. I'll see you going back to when the music was on. Stephen Pidgeon, a man of many talents. He is like a professional musician. Oh, it was so good. I'm just interrupt quickly. Because he'd written some songs, we had some music to play. And I said, well, I just can only strum about 3 chords, you know. So he wrote an easy strumming pattern for me to do. And it's unrehearsed, and we did duets. So I'm just strumming away, and he's always fancy all that stuff, and he's singing, and I'm joining in. It was great. I think someone filmed it as well, so you might have a copy of that. I'll put it up. That's how good he was. He made me look good, which is great. Blake was an atheist. Yeah, William Blake, thank you. That's the ancient feet. Did those feet in ancient times, all that stuff. Fascinating person, William Blake. Look into more of his things. I think there's a lot of hidden information in there. I don't know his religious beliefs, but it's a lot of interesting stuff. Right. Marshall, this is one of the rare occasions I don't agree with Wilson and Blackett. The West Country teems with stories of Joseph and Jesus, not to mention the tunic crosses. I agree. But who's to say he didn't when he came? Did he come when he was a child, or did he come after crucifixion? Or I would argue both. Of course he would have been there when he was younger. Why not? Whether we have the story moved to Britain or not, they would have come back and forth. And then he could come back later. So I don't think it's a contradiction of self. Hey, Betty Babbles, evening, but good to hear from you. Good to see you. Bit late, aren't you? Right, you didn't do it. It was the Romans. Yes, sorry. And Brad says, anyone is so wrong about all the Bible. Yeah, Brad's got a very different look at it. The foundation was at Glastonbury, says Squirrel. Right, okay. Somewhat understandable lengths people go to make it true is absurd. Right, there's tons of comments. I think, unfortunately, David Mosley. Hang on. Nigel Laurel's right-hand side. If going from Penderyn just before you get to the brow of the hill, not visible from the road, sticks out on Google Earth. Oh, no, what was that? All right, there's an interesting chat there. So if you're watching this, go back and have a look. Nigel Laurel's, David Mosley discussing... Right, oh yeah, the text on the stone, that will be the Bishop of Bethlehem. Yeah, it was metal embossed text and it's been pulled out and ruined. What can you do? What can you do? Right, what we can do is go to bed. Sunday evening is quite late, and I hope everyone's enjoyed that. I think it's probably quite a lot of new people tonight. Massive figures, best viewing figures ever. So, as you can see, it rattles along at a good pace, and I have a few people say they have to watch it 2 or 3 times to get all the information done. So, there you go. Right, people just saying night, send off, good night. Oh my dears, Ross is miles at the chat. Yes, sorry, Holistic Media, I'm miles behind. Great show, Ross. Thank you, Angela Oram. Right, what are you going to play us out with, Arnie? Arnie?
Oh yes, I've got a very classic.
A classic piece.
Called Treforest Watson. Don't think it's that classic or Welsh.
So I hold it up here so you come near the microphone so we can all hear you better.
Okay.
What's up, Bart? What's up, Leon?
I think I might know why it's not working.
Oh, he knows why the sound's not working. Oh, well done, Leon. We're only 2 hours, 15 minutes into the show, isn't it?
Just tested it. Oh, you've made $22.78.
Hang on, he just clicked his fingers there. Mr. Techie.
He's all talk.
He's all talk. Oh, that's brothers for you, isn't it? You want someone to support you. The camera's acting as the microphone. We're on the wrong microphone, aren't we? Is this?
No, it's not.
No, worth a try. I will try and sort it out for next time, okay? Well, I'll get them to sort it out. I'm rubbish at technical things. Which we on, Arnie? Treforest Waltz. Oh, here we go. Waltz. It's supposed to be Welsh. We're a bit sceptical, actually. There seems to be Welsh fiddle tunes. We're not sure any of them are actually Welsh. There's a couple in there, definitely are.
I think they're all just random tunes.
I think just random tunes. And they probably sell the same book in Scotland. They put Scottish fiddle tunes and change the names a bit. Right, there you go, Arnie, please. Play us out. I'll say a few good nights.
Scottish fiddle tunes.
Really, thank you, Marshall. Really good to have the Glastonbury forgery exposed in such a masterly fashion. Good for WB as ever. Almost as ever. There's the one bit we don't agree on. Oh, Tuath, a new name. Keski Q Roman Canon Law. Please research, folks. Right. I don't know any of that. Thank you. If Tuath wants to send me an email, it's Ross at... I know that tune. Sorry, no, I do my email address. I recognise the tune.
Oh, do you? Oh,
Yeah, I know the tune. Ross at cymroglyphics.com. Perhaps he never left Britain. Yeah, well, it makes you wonder. What tune's that? Come on, folks. Can't say the A word, already did. For one blockhead to the ancient British blockheads, love, peace and respect to the family of hedgehogs. Yeah, my hair is very hedgehog today, isn't it? Yes, I'm trying to think. That middle passage reminded me of another tune. I tell you what it is. Funny enough, Arnie, the bizarre connection, Joseph and Technicolor Dreamcoat. I think that...
Oh, that's some nice water you got there.
Don't leave drinks lying around when there's props in the room, you know, because you're just going to lose them. God help when they start drinking beer. It's just, yeah, thanks, Arn. It's frightening, isn't it? Frightening. Frightening. There's something about when you play in the front row, I don't know what it is. My father always gave me 2 pieces of advice when playing rugby. Don't fight with the forwards and don't drink with the forwards. And now my son's a forward. What can you do? I can still have you for a little while longer. I'll tell you what has happened here.
Yes?
That part of the melody has been lifted and nicked by Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Really? It's got like an 8-note sequence that sounds kind of similar.
That's
not plagiarism.
It is played. You lift the melody and then you just fiddle with it a bit. I mean, he's a musical genius. It's easy for him to fiddle it.
Yeah, but it's like 3% of the thing.
Come on, help me out here, folks. We're on. I've discovered that there's not many fans of musicals in this group. Me and your mum, we're big musical fans, aren't we? We're big musicals fans. And Arnie loves to call me gay now, and my biggest credentials when I was at college...
It's just because you keep wearing that denim jacket everywhere.
Well, not because of the denim jacket. Well, I also happen to have an encyclopedic knowledge of 1950s musicals. I'll take anybody in a challenge. Right, okay, I can see the chat's going. I'll let them... Yeah, that's it. Oh, no, the chat's really good. I could really get into just going on with the chat. What's the name of the song from Joseph?
That's the Imperial March stand.
Anyway, everyone must be
I know it.
sticking fingers in their ears at the moment, trying to get rid of this, and people are just, I can see the numbers going down. People are going to bed. It's not just my... Play this song again, Play it again.
Okay.
It's just that bit of the melody. I'm sure it... Anyway, it just sounds like to me anyway. So? Nicely done. Move your yourself on the camera. Look at yourself on the camera. You just like...
a bit more left.
Oh, that's enough. It's pretty boring, really, isn't it? Go on. No, play. It's lovely, Arn. It's a delight. I'll say good night, star to everyone. Peace to everyone, Heather. Sending my love as well. Carry out to Heather. Peace and love. And, oh, sorry. So now you finished? Oh, dear. I played your opposition prop at 10 this morning to give you a good thump, and you must have missed. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do, I always do now, we're going to put boys to bed, and I'll be crashing up myself in a minute, I'll leave the chat on for a few more minutes, because the conversation on there is brilliant. I found all of it's more interesting than what I did, so remember to look... Oh, thanks. Do you remember those days when children used to be in fear of their parents? You know what I mean? A bit of respect. Look at that now. Look at me. I'm very tall sitting down, I always say. Anyway, I'll leave you to it. So look out for Rich Planet. I will put something up when it goes live. And Richard did say he might watch tonight. So if you are out there lurking, Richard, and not commenting, that's great. It'd be lovely to see you. And see you again soon. And, are you going to gently on? Oh, well, show the sword. one of Alan's,
This is the nice wooden one from Mark.
Alan Reese's sword. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I can't sit like this. I can't believe you did that to me. What a shambles, isn't it? I'm supposed to be professional, like, I'm a historian and all that kind of thing, isn't it? Yeah. I'm just a reporter, not a historian. Anyway, right, okay, come on, I'm going to go and on. No, don't break the chair anymore, right? I'm already almost on the floor. It's come on, it's a shambles. It's supposed to be professional. Look how professional Jessica's show was compared to this rubbish. Come on. Right, we're going to say goodnight now. You're going to do it carefully, all right? Yep. Right, so no star pobe, Hedwg. Oh, flip the camera on.
It's all right.
You can see it says Arturius as it comes in towards you. Right.
All right.
Good night.